Hello, everybody, and welcome to Heavy Metallurgy this Friday night. As you can see, we've got a very full house, a little unusual, but this is going to be an unusual show for us. We'll kind of cut right to the chase. Everyone's quite aware of the news that earlier this week, Ozzy Osbourne passed away, and it is news that has spread far and wide, and it's not just heavy metal news as we were just discussing before going live. It's a cultural event. It's a huge deal to people the world over, and so we wanted to bring in a whole lot of our friends of the show and friends beyond the show over the years, and just give everybody a chance to talk about their memories of Ozzy, show off memorabilia if they had it, name favorite songs, favorite albums, things like that. And yeah, also just give folks in the chat, a chance to get together, and discuss this. It's obviously, kind of a sad thing. People are going to handle it in different ways and experience it in different ways. But hopefully, this is just a chance for a lot of fans of the music to kind of hang out for a bit and process what's going on. Some of you may have already had a chance to do this with friends and family in your area. Some of you may not have any friends or family that are really into this. So thanks for joining us tonight in the chat. We'll get comments up as much as we can. If you've got favorite Ozzy stories or favorite Ozzy songs, we'll be glad to put those on screen as quickly and as often as we can. But next, let me turn it over to my erstwhile co-host, who has a new screen name for the night. We'll explain that a little bit later. So how you doing there, little doll?
Just fine. Yeah, it's good to see everybody. Thanks for joining us. It's really kind of strange. There's been a couple times I've wiped some tears this week, and it amazes me every time where something like this happens. Obviously, I've never met Ozzy Osbourne. There was no way in hell I was ever going to meet Ozzy Osbourne. And yeah, I've listened to his music a lot, but it's just the emotional impact. We don't really think about it too much, how much personal or emotional attachment we put on some of this music. And when something like this comes along, you're kind of reminded just how much, an artist can touch your life. And yeah, it's been one of those weeks. And I think, Alan stated the fact that it's a cultural thing that's happened here. Like my local town here, I'm in northern Michigan, and there's billboards with the tribute to Ozzy Osbourne video billboards coming up, and it's pretty amazing. And for as much grief and that metal gets the world over, it's really kind of shown here. Granted, Ozzy was always on the more commercial side, especially after leaving Sabbath, but how much metal has got a foothold in our culture, and people don't even realize it or really want to acknowledge it. And this concert they just had too, the Back to the Beginning show, that alone there showed that how huge it is. And yeah.
Well, part of that too, I mean, is, as we've discussed, this is the guy, this is the Titan, the link to the earliest heavy metal band, who's never really completely retired the whole run. So you've got over 50 years of him being, really front and center in the heavy metal universe. So you really couldn't have anyone any bigger suddenly pass away in our circles. And so it's understandable why it's been such a huge thing that's impacted so many folks. But yeah, Marty and I have rambled here a good bit. Let's give some of these other folks a chance to, talk about, their reactions, how it's, sort of, hit them when they heard about it. Dwayne, you were first to log on tonight, so we'll throw you up here first.
Okay.
How would you like to kind of
see here?
start? How's it affecting you hearing the news?
Well, it's interesting. Last time I was on this show, actually, I kind of brought up this exact topic. When our big idols in the music field die off, et cetera, et cetera. And what I can say about this one is I now know what the people in the 70s felt like when they lost Elvis. This is, Ozzy is
Good point. That's that. Yeah.
okay. And I wouldn't be surprised if, 20 years from now, people are still going, Ozzy's really still alive. I saw him at the airport, because it's just that big, and everything I've seen since the announcement is just, I've seen people doing tributes to Ozzy that are people I never would have thought would do a tribute to Ozzy, so that just goes to show how big he is and he was. Obviously he's been a part of my life musically for more than 3/4 of my life, so it's, it's a tough one. It's interesting though, because at the same time, I want to say, to be honest, over the past like 2 years, especially, every time I would listen to Ozzy, I would think about this day, and know that it was close. I just knew, you just know when I'll never forget the first time I saw that photo of him. It's a photo of him like on the street, like walking away from a car, and he's like, trying to walk. And I remember when I saw that photo, I was like, ooh, that's just not good. It's going to be soon. And I just the other day, I think day before yesterday, I posted a video on my channel of a clip that I had of when I met him at a book signing in San Francisco in 2011, which was 14 years ago. And I haven't watched that since then. And when I watched it, at the end of that video, before I get in the car to go home, I kind of give just a quick verbal thing. And I say, how lucky I feel because we don't know how much longer Ozzy is going to be with us. And that was 14 years ago. And so because even 14 years ago, he was really showing his age and illness. And so when I saw that, I thought about it. I was like, wow, that was, should be damn thankful we had him for 14 years since then. I remember thinking he's not doing well. So, but even still, with all that said, the reality of it, I'm still trying to,
Yeah.
I don't know. Come to, I don't want to say terms with it, but come to the belief of it. It's just, he's just somebody I don't know. You just never thought you'd see the day, but here we are.
Right on. Sue, how about you?
Hey, everyone. So, I love Ozzy as much as anyone else. I was definitely a bigger fan of Black Sabbath than of his solo career. But when his first 2 albums were out, I was a young kid, but I was listening to them. I love them. I really loved Randy Rhoads. And in fact, it's kind of interesting because the first celebrity death that really affected me a lot was Randy Rhoads. And it came in the same kind of shocking way as this did. And, you see the news and you just can't even process it. So on Tuesday, when it happened, I was working, at my desk, and I happened to check one of my social media feeds, and I saw it. It was like everywhere. And I ran in the other room and told John, I'm like, Ozzy died, stop everything, So it really hit me hard. I definitely shed some tears. Just can't believing that this icon is gone. And just 17 days after his last performance, which, in case you did the math, Lemmy passed away 17 days after his last performance.
Oh, wow.
So they were both icons in heavy metal, except Ozzy really had, so much popularity across the entire spectrum of culture that it went far beyond just the metal scene. So you had all these people who loved him from TV, from the Osbournes, and, just from him being like always you're hearing about his latest antics and that kind of thing. And people even got to love Sharon. She became well known. She was on a talk show and all this stuff. So the Osbournes have really just been in the collective consciousness for so long. And now to literally be, this is the first week that, I've been alive that Ozzy hasn't been around. So it's been a lot to process.
Absolutely. How about you, Rick?
Yeah, I think I'm probably a little younger to some of you. Maybe not. I think Logan wins me out on this one. But I think I came in with Ozzy during the MTV era. I think like a lot of us. And so Black Sabbath was not in my psyche yet at the time, even though by the time I was born, Ozzy was already out of the band. And so I knew him first from his solo career. And then obviously went back and then, then songs like Iron Man and all that stuff was a staple. It was like rotating on the radio. The meaning of what we call classic rock now was different than now. When I hear Smashing Pumpkins on the classic rock radio, I'm like, this feels like Bizarre World. But Ozzy has had a very long career, obviously being one of the founders. I think with this kind of thing, just always an avenue for us to want something a little more extreme, something that resonates with us, especially, when a lot of us start out with this kind of music, with our young teenage angst, some even sooner, and resonated really, really well. I've never met him or seen him in person, unfortunately. That's one of my regrets. When those shows were coming out, it was during times in my life where I could never make it happen. And him and Dio, which I'm sure will be brought up a little later. I'll talk about icons of people in music who's no longer here. But going on Laz's point earlier about how a lot of us can't believe it doesn't feel real to us, I'm going to take a different approach and kind of say I'm surprised he kicked that around as long as he did.
Yeah, no shit.
Into how his particular lifestyle. He's one of those last bastions of those guys, like you mentioned, Lemmy, who lived that real rock star life. And the meaning of what that rock star life and with those antics and all that stuff and being able to get away with it, more or less, with all that stuff. I think those days are not what they used to be. These kids coming in now, or like Ozzy was on a whole other level. Now, it took a lot of pain, and a lot of sacrifice, a lot of things to get demons to get over, which he had a lot of. And I think that's one part of the reason why I made that music great. A lot of what he wrote and the talent that he brought on board, it's kind of what made all this stuff memorable, And I think that, just seeing everybody here tonight, a lot of us may be, and I'll admit it, a lot of us may be burned out a little bit just from all the tributes and everything that's been going on through the week. If this would have happened just yesterday, maybe it would have been a little bit of a different feel. It still feels pretty hard. I mean, don't get me wrong. It still feels pretty hard and pretty just mournful that this is happening, the way it is. But his music will be living on for a long, long time, and we'll be introducing our kids, to this stuff, and it will be back to that ground zero, where a lot of this stuff has stemmed, obviously, and just look back further than this, where a lot of this kind of came in. So I'll be very curious to see as we go through the stream and what everybody's thoughts are on particular songs and just points in his career and his life and whatever stories you guys got.
Right on. I'm just going down the line here. Logan.
Oh man, it's tough to follow up the Ozzy impersonator in the stream. Good job, Rick. You're killing it. I guess first I want to say I'm appreciative and honestly just kind of honored to be included in this and excited to share my thoughts on the legacy and the music, of course, as well. I'm more excited, though, to hear from you guys and hear everyone's different opinions and takes, because I think Ozzy, as a person and his career and his legacy is so multifaceted. It's kind of been just awe-inspiring to see, because everyone has a different take. Everyone came in with Ozzy in a different era through a different avenue. Some people aren't even music, that you were first exposed to Ozzy. Like, for example, I was first, clued in on Ozzy Osbourne probably from TV cameos and commercials. He was in a bunch of commercials in the early 2000s and, late 2000s, and he was in Little Nicky. And then the main interaction that I actually had with him was through video games. I first personally interacted with like an Ozzy Osbourne kind of character through Guitar Hero, and he was a playable character, and that was how I was.
It's amazing how
exposed
much
to his
that
music.
game got people into.
It did.
It's weird. It's
I'm
really
one of those
weird.
people, man. That was a big thing for me, and that was where I first heard Mr. Crawley. I definitely had heard Crazy Train, sporting events and God knows where else, but for sure, Mr. Crawley, and just kind of interacting with Ozzy Osbourne, and Brutal Legend too. That video game is another one. If you guys aren't familiar with Brutal Legend,
my kid plays it.
Jack Black.
Yeah.
It's a fucking awesome game. You guys, anyone who enjoys, I guess now throwback video games back to 2009. Check out Brutal Legend. But it's just interesting also hearing everyone else's tributes and stuff and how wide-reaching Ozzy and the Osbournes kind of were. Like when this first happened at work, it was like 2:00 on a Tuesday, and of course my first thought was like, we need to cancel work. Everyone needs to go home. The industry must stop. We all must march out to the streets and go to a bar or something. That didn't fly, so I finished the workday. But I overheard coworkers talking about, oh man, Ozzy died. I'm gonna go watch the Osbournes to pay tribute. I'm like, what? It's an entirely different like relationship with the guy. So he was just one of those very far-reaching like media figures that was metal, but at the same time transcended it. And I'm sure we'll open up about if that's good, bad, or where that kind of falls, but I mean, I think it's impressive he was able to do that and still kind of be himself. Like he always felt genuine to me, no matter how he was kind of represented in whatever form of media. So he definitely had a lasting legacy, and yeah, the world just hasn't felt the same since. Was it a surprise? No. Was it a shock? Yes. So
right on. S.
Yeah, so prior to his passing, Marty and I had been in touch a lot, just sort of regarding the whole Back to the Beginning show. And for the most part, we were just talking about different performances that we saw. And one that I really had mixed feelings on, and particularly was the Guns N' Roses performance, because, man, Slash absolutely at the top of his game.
Band sounded great, yeah.
And their new drummer is fantastic, and Axl wrecked his voice, and I'm a big fan of vintage Guns N' Roses, so it's not to bag on him. It's just wrecked, and so he's just singing kind of a falsetto. But just listening to those versions and Alice in Chains with their new great singer, that guy was a very good choice, William DuVall maybe. But listening to all of that sort of stuff put me in what I was referring to with Marty is Sabbath Fest, and so I listened down to the entire catalog and was just really in that mood. Multiple albums I spun multiple times, and but the whole catalog, Tony Martin era, Dio era, Glenn Hughes one-off, all of this stuff. And Marty and I were in touch about that, and that was still going on. I went to the gym and I spun volume 4, and I came back and I got the text from Morty and Jeff Wagner that Ozzy had died. So I'm not going to use the word shocked at all. He wasn't well, and it reminded me of maybe 3 years ago, a little bit more. I saw Brian Wilson with 2 other Beach Boys, Al Jardine and Blondie Chaplin, and he seemed sometimes aware that he was on stage and sometimes oblivious. I mean, this is a person who's wrestled with mental illness his whole life, and I was happy for any of the moments where he performed and was engaged in that way. And Ozzy was in much better shape than Brian Wilson, but he wasn't in good shape, and it was kind of like a living wake in terms of having everyone pay their respects. Sort of shocking when I was watching some stuff about him that somehow it was the first time he had ever met Axl Rose. That seems like impossible considering who those people were, but it nonetheless, it's there. I was absolutely thrilled that Jakey Lee was there and took part in that, and definitely more on Jakey Lee later as we get into some of the catalogs. And so I wasn't shocked. To me, it really looked like his days were numbered, but I think it's wonderful that he had that tribute. and that his final gesture is one of the most money-making charity events in like the history of events, maybe the number one. So that, I mean, in terms of having a very nice send-off, it like in addition to all of the bands like Metallica and Guns N' Roses and Tool and Alice in Chains and all of these bands that paid respect, which is absolutely deserved and wonderful. I think it was particularly nice that this generated money. I think a lot of it went to a Parkinson's health. I don't know if it's research or cure or dealing with people who are, or treating people who are dealing with it. But so that's wonderful. So I wasn't shocked. I mean, I felt it was kind of obvious he was on his way out from that. And I watched some of the solo Ozzy performance and some of the Sabbath performance, but I found it kind of hard to watch, particularly Mom, I'm Coming Home. And but very, very happy that, you know, people are showing him that love, and all walks, like Dolly Parton is there, you know, or like recorded a video for him. And so this is a beloved figure. And for me, I mean, Black Sabbath is my third favorite band of all time, just below Blue Oyster Cult and King Crimson, and my favorite metal band of all time, and something that I can always associate with this band, and in particular his singing. The idea that I was wrestling with as like a teenager of listening to something that's genuinely unpleasant and puts me in a bad headspace, and doing so by choice and liking it. Particularly Master of Reality. That album in particular was something where it's the oppressive heaviness of a horror movie, but you're just listening to it. You're not watching it. There's no creature going around or zombies or whatever. It's this oppressive experience in this heaviness. So really kind of relishing the heaviness and that atmosphere, and the idea of being creeped out, whether it's that or the Black Sabbath song, and a number of things, and all of the prophesized nuclear annihilation all over Paranoid. And so those three albums in particular really open up my mind to, I can listen to something and it can be engaging and I might enjoy it, but overall the feeling is oppressive. And that's something, as like if I listed my 10 favorite albums this year, 8 of them are death metal and brutal death metal albums. So obviously that connects to the world being opened up and enjoying music that is deliberately unpleasant or deliberately dissonant, or like putting you in that sort of space. And Ozzy was the voice of that and fit it very well. And I did follow his solo career. I remember picking up at a CD store that no longer exists, like Black Rain, when it came out and Wagner was over, and we spun it. So I'd only missed the last couple. And one of the things I can say is a real plus of a loss like this. I mean, obviously, in some ways, he lived much longer than I would have expected. And I mean, it hit me hard. But again, I think there were people who were taking really good care of him that he survived this long. But the idea of just looking back on these catalogs, in particular his solo catalog, which there were a couple of the most recent ones that I had missed. I think maybe Black Rain was the last one that I bought when it was new, but I followed him for a while. And so some discoveries with that is a way for him to live on. And while I will be insulting Marty and ridiculing him for the absolutely ridiculous list he sent to me when I said, I said, Ozzy Osbourne solo recorded 4 masterpieces. What are they? There are 8 other songs that are in the other conversation. And one of the songs he chose was Little Dolls.
Let me say, how quickly did
Shows that he listened to Fire of a Madman and chose that as the song. Chose that one. And it's not a bad song. I think it's a pretty good song.
I like that song.
He has heard Diary of a Madman and chose Little Dolls. But nonetheless, my hope is that some people will get me to think twice about, let me spin that one again. And I have some oddball choices on my list, and then some kind of established favorites. And like the sweet spot of my favorite singing from Ozzy, my guess isn't going to line up with a lot of the other people on the show, but his solo catalog and the stuff with Sabbath is such a rich catalog that they're like King Crimson and Blue Oyster Cult, the other two bands I like at the level of Black Sabbath. They're rich catalogs, and you can go everywhere and make a lot of good arguments for lots of different periods. So I look forward to that discussion. Will be when Marty sent me his Little Dolls, Tonight, whatever else was.
Tonight's still on the list, by the way. Great fucking song.
So when he sent me that list, I said, feel free to respond with a well-considered list. And then he let me know in all caps that it was a well-considered list.
I cannot wait to hear Marty's defense of this.
It was not. So anyways, Ozzy is one of the kings. Warning to viewers, listening to Solitude is extremely difficult. That was one that really got me in terms of since his passing. But it's also kind of amazing how regularly, whether it's See You on the Other Side, like how regularly he was singing about this moment, like for 30 years to some extent. This is like kind of major subject, whether it's Mom, I'm Coming Home or See You on the Other Side, like how regularly he was going there. So there are a lot of songs that lyrically hit home in that way. And as a solo artist, he has a number of incredible songs. With Sabbath, he has a number of incredible songs, and I look forward to kind of, celebrating it. It's obviously a sad time that we've lost him, but there's so much to treasure. And in some ways, I felt like he got a lot of extra victory laps with the care that he got and his success and all of the love, and just kind of, survived all expectations. I mean, certainly, as compared to, some other people who lived much healthier lifestyles who did not make it as long. I'm glad we had Ozzy, as long as we did. So, I saw him on were they calling it the No More Tours? It was like the No More Tears tour. But maybe they might have called it No More Tours. Anyways, I saw him on that tour, and he did a lot of jumping around like a frog, which he was clearly not doing, in the final show. And they played a lot of great stuff and sounded really good. So I look forward to sort of digging in with lists and discussing the wonderful catalogs of music he left behind as a solo artist and with Black Sabbath.
Right on. Alan.
Let's see. Like Craig said, not really a shock. We've known he's been in bad shape for a long time. There's been some kind of close calls before. That doesn't make it any less of a bummer when the news finally comes through and you double check it and it's official. Yeah, I found out just in the middle of the afternoon. I think we were getting ready to head out the door to go run errands or something. Yeah, and I noticed it, pop up on the screen while I was kind of logging out of stuff. It's just like, crap. Yeah, it's just kind of the reaction. It's like, it finally happened. And even when it's coming and that someone's, maybe close to it, it's still different than when, it's actually there in front of you. Like Sue, I'm a much bigger fan of Ozzy's Black Sabbath years than his solo years. So I'm not going to claim I'm like the biggest Ozzy fan or that I followed him as long as some of y'all have or stuff like that. But yeah, with him passing, you do sort of refocus on just how central and huge he was. Nobody this large in heavy metal has passed away since Lemmy. And, I'd still say there's, an order of magnitude or more difference between, Lemmy's standing and Ozzy's standing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Totally. Yeah, and nothing against Lemmy. Obviously, he's a very beloved figure through heavy metal circles. Ozzy, and we're seeing it all week, Ozzy is a very beloved figure across all circles. He's one of the very few people in heavy metal, maybe the only person who really transcended the genre, not just metal, not just hard rock, not just 80s crazy hair and loud guitars kind of music. Yeah, he crossed over into just about everything. You can say fairly, he became a brand himself. And I'm not saying that in a derogatory way. There's no judgment there. But he's one of those people you just know him by the first name. the last name isn't even necessary. You say Ozzy, and people know exactly who you're talking about.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's the TV reality show kind of stuff. That's not my kind of thing, but that was a huge thing for a lot of people. You had an entire new generation get introduced to him through the Ozfest stuff. People have commented in the chat about, how they helped all these newer, younger bands get a ton of exposure by being added to that kind of tour package with Ozzy and Sabbath, and taking bands that were real up and coming and making them into superstars, and that exposure was a huge part of that. He had movie appearances, at least one that I know of. We'll probably get back to that in a little while. So yeah, just the fact that he really did transcend the whole metal underground completely. Someone, I think it was Goldie Wax, made the point earlier that if from going from a teenager, basically swiping cars and stealing and burglarizing things, to becoming a global figure whose recognition in the music world, it's on the same kind of tier as, like Dwayne said, people like Elvis and Prince. It's that kind of level is really astonishing. And so yeah, I've got a couple of random Ozzy sort of memory stories later on. I never got to see him live, never met him, anything like that. But yeah, later on, I'll share a couple of things like, my first exposure to Ozzy, because looking back on it, a couple of them it's kind of funny. And some of the things that were my first glimpses into the world of, Ozzy Osbourne. But let's pass it on to next in line for now.
I just want to say that my dear friend S. Craig Zoller says, produce this list. Granted, he's a list guy. I'm not so much a list guy. I present a list to him in about 10 minutes, by the way. I'm just going to put that out there.
Okay. It is a list. You presented a list.
I presented a list. A pretty good list.
10 minutes is still long enough to bypass little dolls. I'm just saying.
Knife, my friend.
The whole thing I take away from Ozzy is, again, never met him, any of that stuff, is the fact that, he wasn't a perfect guy. He had his dark side, and, he overcome a lot of that stuff, and he went through a lot, becoming who he eventually became. But he just always struck me as like just an ordinary guy, with his struggles, and he just had an honesty about him, and that really came through in the way he sang. Technically, is he a perfect singer? He's not, but you could tell he sang from his heart, and that really is a huge impact, especially for me, hearing a guy that may not be perfect in his technique and style, but it's so undeniably his own. And hearing him, the way he, the melody lines he created and stuff over just riffs, the riffs have a certain flow and direction, and he would follow the riff often, but when he didn't, it was beautiful. He had a really good ear for stepping outside of the riff to bring a little more color to a song, which some of that early Sabbath stuff, there's not a lot of color there. It's very dark, very doomy, very dismal, which is just a little bit of light. He was a little light in the darkness, which I think was very, very cool. And I think that's why so many people connected to him and related to him. And, you can't, the show, oh my God, it's huge how that cemented him. The music was enough, but then this show comes along, and, I've been watching little clips of it off and on all week, and it's just ridiculous that so many people glommed onto that. It's funny. I mean, he was a funny guy, and who knows how scripted it was. I'm sure it was very scripted. They all are, but yeah, it really, that further cemented him as a cultural icon. But, yeah, and for me, I guess we'll get into this stuff later, but I'm trying to think of the first time I've heard Sabbath. But I remember as a teenager learning how to play guitar for the first time. Iron Man was one of the first songs, riffs, I learned how to play, because it's not a hard one. But so, and I just can't remember the first time I bought a Sabbath tape or got an Ozzy tape. But yeah, we'll get to all that stuff later. Yeah. But
let's see now. Have we hit everybody? Sorry. I think we're going around. Yeah, I do want to make sure we get back to Craig, because he is on a short kind of relatively short clock tonight.
So
Go ahead, Craig, and then we can segue into like some of your lists and stuff.
Sure. I just had a question when you're talking about the voice, and it's something I've always wondered with Ozzy, because there's Ozzy and his and anyone can chime in with an opinion on this. And in terms of his timbre and just the Ozzy sound, I think some of it is his voice. Some of it, I think, is the way he sings. And what I wanted, so like, let's take a band. So a band like Count Raven. So a doom band, and a doom band I like. I think the main singer for that band essentially just does an Ozzy Osbourne impersonation, which is sort of singing full head voice and pinching in a certain way, and it just kind of sounds like Ozzy. But when with Ozzy does it, there are a bunch of different ways that he can sing, but there's just that, like, in general, there is that sound that I think of as like, that I've always wondered exactly how much of that is choice, like how much of that is nature and how much of that is nurture. And there are songs like something like Solitude or whatever, where the vocal quality is dramatically different. But I'm just curious. It's something I've always wondered about him, because they're like rocket singing to the fat, like you can just sort of turn your voice into a head voice, and it will sound like Ozzy. But I don't sense that's entirely what he's doing. So I've always wondered with how much of it was choice, and also he was a singer earlier on where I noticed they were regularly doubling his verse lines. That kind of gave it that quality. Yeah. But I'm just curious anyone's opinions on that, because I've never landed there. There is that thing where like there are probably 100 doom bands where the singer sounds like Ozzy by singing in that head voice pinch way, probably doubling a lot of the lines. Again, Count Raven is one of my favorites, and maybe my favorite of a band that's purely in that style. But I'm just curious what people think in terms of how much of that is just what came out of it and how much was a choice.
Anybody?
Good question. I don't.
Yeah,
know.
There's a band called Dope Throne that the dude has that nasally thing going on too. I think they're also I think they're Scottish. But there's a style that I think that it really works really well for. A doom metal is probably one of those, because it's a slower tempo. It's not quite as I don't think it would work for, I don't know, something like thrash metal. Especially for something like a Bay Area sound, it would just be a little weird. Even though he's had a mix of styles with guitarists and things going on, but for some reason, originated from Black Sabbath, where it got its point. I think a lot of us are just calibrated to that. It just works really, really well. So Dope Thrones come to mind, but Count Raven's a really good example.
Yeah, it's just a sound where I think for Ozzy, I'm going to assume most of it comes naturally because of his voice and just what he has. But then a lot of other people kind of get there by pinching their voice, by singing a lot with the head voice. So anyways, it's just something I thinking about with all of the bands that have that sort of tone.
Yeah, that's another one that's
this immediately came to
my
my mind. But this is kind of cool because it's like if Ozzy were singing over Fu Manchu or Nebula or something like that.
Right.
Like it's a bit happier, but he still sounds kind of like the doom and gloom Ozzy kind of. So yeah, Chevy, the Electric Sleep, which about that other bands aping Ozzy, it's kind of it takes their performance down a notch, right? You're just like, oh, it's an Ozzy sound, it's an Ozzy guy, and it's just impressive that he's that influential that people will give up their own voice to just be in that Ozzy register the whole time, and this guy definitely does it as well as Count Raven.
Yeah, and it's some of that oh yeah, bark at the mound. Like some of it is that enunciation, the occasional ow, like and some of that stuff coming out. But I mean, I think he's phenomenal, and we get into it. And Marty alluded to this, and it certainly plays into what a lot of my favorites are and what they aren't. Is the further he gets away from the riff, pretty much the better. and in terms of coming up with vocal lines that are completely distinct from the riff, which how hard must that have been for the first person singing over Iommi riffs? Like the gravitational pull on those and the swings, it's hard to not get into that groove with the most monstrous riffs like ever written. And it wasn't even like there was a template because they were coming up with it. And you can see a gigantic difference, and for me, a gigantic step forward qualitatively from this album, which I think is really plagued by that. Iron Man, War Pigs with the rising, descending stuff, the Electric Funeral refrain, all of that stuff. And then this, where his voice is, I just feel his voice is his voice. Like this is, I think the difference between his vocals on this and Paranoid is massive. Like that's the biggest upgrade of a singer I can think of. And I don't know, I mean, there will always be the question, and I don't know if people have an answer. I do not, in terms of who's coming up with these ideas, because if someone's giving you lyrics and the riff is already there, is there an idea what the phrase will be? Ozzy has way too many amazing choruses and amazing verses and amazing singing throughout. It's way, way, way too many albums for you not to give him a lot of credit. Like there's no way that he isn't deserving of a ton of credit. But in terms of the change between Paranoid, which is of all the Sabbath albums, the one I just don't listen to anymore. There's way too much of the vocals lining up with the riff. And obviously they're the hits that are there, but even like Children of the Grave, which is out there and played all the time, I think that song is phenomenal.
Oh, great song. Yeah.
And I adore Crazy Train, which is out there. So I can accept a hit, but the vocal line being its own distinct artistic creation and voice not following the riff is huge. And again, like that dividing line between Paranoid and Massive Reality is huge. And there's some of that, like NIB, you know, has the Someday My Love Will Not, like with that section, to me is too playful. And then when you get to that other section, the singing is absolutely beautiful. So like that song to me shows both sides, like the best of Ozzy singing in Sabbath and what I find the least interesting. And again, like he was for me as a vocalist forever better from Master of Reality forward. This isn't to say that there aren't amazing songs on the debut, because there are definitely two that I rank extraordinarily high. But yeah, just always, you know, a super interesting vocalist, and it kind of seems like that it's a very natural outpouring. And you know, a couple people have already mentioned Dio, and that's definitely the last celebrity whose death hit me this hard. And that guy seemed completely self-aware, and like he was crafting amazing stuff and knew exactly what he was doing, was completely in control. And Ozzy feels a bit like a phenomenon. Like when I watch him perform and listen to these things, I feel like it's just coming out of him. Like it isn't, he's not arriving there at all the same way Ronnie James Dio is. And maybe like Halford is partway in between the two, in terms of what's just coming out based on instinct and what is kind of curated and artistically crafted in a more intellectual way. But anyways, great stuff. Please proceed with however you want to proceed for the I guess next round, or however you want to go.
Well, why don't we just get started with some favorites? Zoller, since you're on a bit of a time crunch, we'll start with you and we'll go around the horn.
So, like some favorites. So this is a failing of mine. I'm a compulsive list maker. So, when I tasked him with picking the 4 masterpieces from Ozzy's solo career, and there are 4, you know, and he sent me that list that included Little Dolls and Tonight, which again, Tonight is good. The ending is
on the list.
The Tonight is good. The ending of that song is excellent, particularly like when it leaps forward with Randy's work on it. So my list of 5 has turned into a list of 30. If I were to actually talk about all these songs, I would absolutely usurp the stream. So I guess what I'm going to do is just in a roll call way go through all of my kind of honorable mentions up until I get to the top 10 and just sort of stop there, and then maybe other people can go. I don't want this to turn into I'm talking for 45 minutes. So one of the things that like my lists are going to be pretty different, I think, than a lot of people. One of the things I'm going to say, and this is not a chop on Ozzy at all, it is, but Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. The more time goes by, the more problems I have with that album. That was at one point a favorite, and it all comes down to the arrangements. I think the last 30 seconds to maybe 2 minutes of each song is significantly less good than what led up to it. So in short, I think if you said, what are the 50 best moments of singing and riffs in Black Sabbath's career, like probably a ton of them are on Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. But if the song ends, like say Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, there's the tom thing that then goes into a quick fade out with the solo that doesn't, to me, have anything to do with the song. There's the song that ends with Honky Tonk falling apart. The Spiral Architect ends with a grand swelling of major key orchestra followed by canned applause. So that album, clearly it was a progressive leap forward. But a reason that album is not going to figure high on my list and not many songs will get there is that, because a song that's 5 minutes of awesome and then has 1 minute at the end that I think is really less good bothers me. And Sabotage has a little bit the same problem. I mean, like, the most obvious example would be Symptom of the Universe. Starts out a masterpiece that maybe created thrash. And then eventually he's singing about the child of love with acoustic guitars. That stuff I think is good. I like that stuff. The stuff before it is masterful. The Writ, when that song explodes, total masterpiece.
Love that song. Great song.
And it gets good, and it's on my list. But this is a reason, like Sabotage and Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, which at one time, each of those was my favorite Ozzy era Black Sabbath album. That's a reason they're not quite where they were, and will figure lower for me than it does for other people. But Sabbath is a band that knows how to end stuff really well. Wheels of Confusion, Under the Sun, Children of the Grave, Dirty Women, All Moving Parts Stand Still, Gypsy. They have lots of songs that crescendo at the end and really have climactic moments. And that like, I know Sabbath Bloody Sabbath is a favorite for tons of Sabbath people. But that's my thing with that. And then one other aside, and then I'll get into my favorites, is people love Bill Ward's drumming. He's a phenomenal player. Like the swinging that guy does is great. But for me, sometimes you can play too far back in the pocket. And I will point to the song Snowblind, which is not on this list for this one reason. Like, he is playing so far behind the beat. It's by choice. I'm not like, before someone gets indignant and like, he knows what he's doing. Like, of course he knows what he's doing. He's a phenomenal player and he swings like a jazz guy. But that song in particular, I feel you could take his drum performance, isolate it, move it up a half beat, and I would like the song better. Like, it's so uniformly, and he added a heaviness to heavy metal that I'm not denying by his delayed hits. I think it's phenomenal for the most part on the first 3 albums, and Volume 4 is a favorite of mine from them. But that, I feel, is the album where, like, can you sit too far back in the pocket? Probably some people don't think you can and love everything he did. To me, that's the album where he does. So here, I'll just go through the 20 that are not the top 10. Megalomania, I will say that the first half of that song is them returning to the absolute bleakness hellscape of Black Sabbath. And man, that is oppressive. The second half of it is great, not as good as the first half, but that first half is absolutely unbelievable. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, Johnny Blade. Here's going to be probably the first eyebrows are raised. Perry Mason, Castronovo and Geezer Butler are absolutely pulverizing this. And Osmosis for me is a good album. That's like, of the albums beyond Ultimate Sin that I recommend people to check out, that they very good chance they overlook, that is definitely the top choice. There's a lot of good stuff on there. Really, really great playing from Castronovo and Geezer from the rhythm section. Perry Mason, I think, is probably one of Zach's best solos. I actually like that album a lot more than No More Tears. Continuing forward, Flying High Again, incredible. You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. The orchestra stuff, just really, really making it seem rich. And some of the richness with solo Ozzy as compared to Sabbath has a little bit more of a gothic flavor, maybe almost lining up more with something like a Merciful Fate. And I think that's probably the amount of classical music that Randy was bringing in. But that's a great song. Children of the Grave, absolutely terrific. Of the overplayed Sabbath songs, definitely my favorite by far. The overdubs of drums by Bill Ward are phenomenal. Great climax at the end of the tune. Diary of a Madman, another just absolutely spellbinding gothic song. Like, we're starting to get into songs that are as good as songs have ever been written. You're No Different from Bark at the Moon. Amazing. This was, Marty, I think this was on your list.
Yay!
Success. Gorgeous, gorgeous singing, really great refrains, and the key changes in this are particularly beautiful. If there is an excellent Sabbath song in the Ozzy Osbourne solo career, it is Now You See It, Now You Don't. Particularly that whole thing at the end, the ooh, ah, yeah, 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 ooh, ah, yeah, yeah, yeah. That thing at the end is absolutely like banana shit you would hear on Technical Ecstasy. Great stuff. And really a really good refrain, aided a lot by Tommy Aldridge. There's a drummer I adore. Revelation, Mother Earth, another of Sabbath sounding solo songs. Great journey, great taking off. Here's going to be the first one where like Americans are maybe like, what the hell is that? Spiders. This was on the UK release of Bark at the Moon. And instead of Slow Down, it's much better than Slow Down. It's really creepy and absolutely fantastic. Odd little tune. Certainly shouldn't have been the album closer, which is where it sits on the UK release of Bark at the Moon. Great bass lines, really creepy. And it sounds like if Ozzy recorded a song with the masters of Italian prog rock Goblin, this is the song. If you want to know what Ozzy and Goblin working together is, it's Spiders. Symptom of the Universe is excellent, even though, yes, I like that last part less than the rest. Same goes for The Writ. Supernaut. I hear Supernaut, and I wonder if Metallica's like Enter Sandman, and like half of that album is like, we're trying to make Supernaut. They never, I don't know that there's a riff in their catalog as good as the Supernaut riff. Maybe, and Creeping Death and Dyer's Eve might have them, but Supernaut, absolutely swinging, and really, really good stuff. And then Hole in the Sky. This is like Hole in the Sky. I remember the first time hearing that, it's like, holy shit, is Ozzy absolutely ripping it as a vocalist. Like Symptom of the Universe and Hole in the Sky, that was that guy going at a different level of aggression. And while he doesn't have the high notes of Rob Halford, the intensity and throat-ripping approach for those two songs, I mean, that's something I don't think is sustainable unless you're Brian Johnson, who has made an entire career of wrecking his throat and somehow continues to do it. But Hole in the Sky is great, super swaggering, like kind of my mid-pace 6/8.
Kind of menacing song. It's a menacing layered song. I love it.
Absolutely beautiful stuff. So those are the 20 runner-ups to my 10. Other people should speak before I get into my 10, because that's as quick as I could go through the 20 leading up to the 10.
All right, Sue, wake up.
Thanks. Okay, so maybe I'll run through my top 5 Ozzy solo songs.
Go for it. Yep.
All right. So at number 5, we have Bark at the Moon. So I have to qualify this by saying I really only know the first few albums of his solo career. Like everything from the Zakk Wylde era, I don't really know other than the hits. So and I just didn't have time to delve into it that much. So this is going to be kind of predictable. But that being said, so number 5, I have Bark at the Moon. Number 4 is Over the Mountain. Number 3, You Can't Kill Rock and Roll. Number 2, Steal Away, which is kind of a track that you don't hear as much, but I just find that to be a really energetic, exciting song, and I thought Ozzy's vocals on it were perfect. And at number 1, Mr. Crowley. You definitely can't go wrong with that one. I did see Ozzy live back in 1986 with Metallica opening on the Master of Puppets tour with Cliff when he was still with us. And
Same, Sue.
yeah, I had gone to see Metallica, but I thought Ozzy was great. He had Jakey Lee playing, and the show was phenomenal. So I was happy to have seen Mr. Crowley played live and all of those great songs from the early era.
All right. Logan.
I've got to just briefly comment that was a fantastic list. Marty, take notes. That was a fantastic. Sue gets an A. Little Dolls gets a D-.
I'll just say, for the record, my new list does not have Little Dolls on it. Just saying. So I listened to the track, but I realized I like the chorus, and that's about it.
Sue did great.
Logan.
Good luck living that one down, my friend.
That's all right. He's got me on a bunch of shit over the years.
So I'll toss my hat in with Zoller, and that I enjoy list making. I made 5 lists.
List making is dumb.
Oh, it's so fun just to sit there and I don't
You
know.
guys haven't seen Logan's deep dives. He uses spreadsheets.
I use spreadsheets.
You're ridiculous, man.
There's not a spreadsheet for here, but there are 5 separate lists. I ranked the Ozzy solo albums that I know, the 9 Ozzy Black Sabbath albums, top 15 Ozzy solo songs, top 15 Sabbath songs, and then the actual 5. The initial list I was instructed to create. I did make that. Just the top 5.
The list
Ozzy
we were
Black.
supposed to do, right?
Yes. Yes. the bare minimum, or that's the requirement.
Dwayne, I didn't think you would just stick to 5. I knew you're a guy that's very passionate about this. I figured you'd have all sorts of stuff.
Look,
Dwayne's a law and order kind of guy. He's going to follow the rules, man.
when you're talking a catalog this big and you're told 5, I figured something must be up. You're going to have 30 guests. We're each going to have like 10 minutes. So keep it simple, stupid. 5. Pick your best 5. So the torture of doing that is what pisses me off. Okay.
So, in honor of Laz, I'm gonna do just the 5 that we were supposed to.
Oh no, Logan, no. Take advantage, brother. Enjoy.
That was the plan. I'll do the 5, and then I'm sure we'll get back. I will stipulate with my first exposure with Ozzy was him as a celebrity more so than as a metal icon. So when I look at Ozzy's solo career, initially I didn't see as much there for me. So I'm kind of more of a Sabbath fan initially. Like, I never felt like I discovered Ozzy. He was always just there in the culture around, I felt like I discovered Sabbath, and I went through like kind of classic rock, like getting into Led Zeppelin and then Deep Purple, and then finally, Paranoid and so on. So that's kind of the focus of all my lists and stuff is definitely Sabbath first. So that the top 5 Ozzy performances for me, or Ozzy songs that he's on, 4 out of the 5 are Sabbath. So there you go. For number 5, it's my Ozzy solo nod, Mr. Crawley. That's definitely my favorite Ozzy solo song. That won sticks with me. It's haunting. The keyboard intro, the guitar solo, Randy Rhoads is phenomenal. But that probably maybe my second favorite Randy Rhoads guitar solo, and yeah, just how that song ends, and really just the lyrical matter too. You know, I love feeling like I was listening to a song, you know, about this guy who's supposedly a Satanist or whatever. I didn't even really know who he was outside of the lyrics in the song, and I thought it was
Logan. I gotta ask you because you're this specific, and now I need to know. Your second favorite Randy Rhoads solo. What's number one?
Revelation, I want to say.
Okay.
Yeah. That or Can't Kill Rock and Roll, maybe. And then for number 4, for now we're just going Sabbath from here on out. NIB, the bass intro, it's such a dark and heavy song for 1970. It's amazing to, you know, listen to Tony Iommi's riffage and stuff, and just the subject matter still blows me away to this day, and just love the lyrics. So NIB for sure, number 4. Number 3, Electric Funeral. Holy shit, was there a song heavier than this when it came out? The main riff just drops, and I love how that is like the intro to this song, and then it kind of builds throughout. It's very sludgy and dirgy, and then it just ends on the shrieking electric funeral, and you got like the layered vocal effects going on, and yeah, Ozzy sounds downright menacing, and I'm really a fan of that nuclear war kind of themes that is all across Paranoid. So yeah, great track there. Then number 2, Into the Void, a riff masterpiece, riff after riff. People say Black Sabbath came up with all the great riffs, and they did, but probably 75% of the great riffs they came up with are on Into the Void. It's just from strength to strength. And when you don't think it can get any better, the final riff to close out that song is just, you know, phenomenal. So that's all like Iommi. I know we're here talking about Ozzy, but he's great on this as well. And then my actual favorite Sabbath Ozzy song is Planet Caravan. I love the vibe of it. It's so different. It feels so different on Paranoid, and it kind of blew me away.
His singing's a bit different too. His singing,
he sings, yeah. To me, it just shows this different dynamic that Ozzy and Sabbath, they all had, and they were all, you know, children of the 60s and the 50s, and probably, you know, in the 60s and the early 70s, they were coming up in like the blues and I guess krautrock scene, and there's just a different dynamic and feel to that. And honestly, I credit that to a lot of metals, how dynamic metal can be. And some of my favorite genres of metal, I think, parody, you know, what Sabbath can do and how dynamic they are. Like I'm a big stoner, sludge, doom guy, and you know, if that is your bread and butter, then the first 4 Sabbath albums is, you know, you worship it, and I definitely do. And Planet Caravan just shows how dynamic they can be as a band. So that's the number 1 for me.
All right, Dwayne.
Oh, it's me. All right. First off, thanks to Depeche Commode for dropping the super chat.
I think you paid twice, Chris. Oops. If you check your shit, if you did indeed, let me know. I'll hit you back with a payback. Thanks, man.
Yeah. Thanks to Chris, and thanks to Byron for doing a super chat earlier. Also, folks have been answering. Byron, folks have been answering your question in the chat. Hopefully, you've caught those.
Since I'm somebody that likes to make lists and real long ones, I've got 5.
So, you could add more. We're going to be here for a while. We'll circle around. We'll circle the wagons.
Let me say this so I don't continue to just bitch about the situation. Doing that, going through this whole catalog and trying to pick my top 5, which it's like, okay, my top 5 from age, 7 to 10, from, whatever my age was at the time, because they changed throughout the years. But at the end of the day, what I found interesting is in my top 5 favorite Ozzy Osbourne tracks, they're all solo tracks. There's no Sabbath in there. And some may find that absolute sacrilege, but I would say I am much more of a Ozzy fan than a Sabbath fan if I had to compare the two. That's just my age and what I spent time with. But anyway, I do want to give this shout out before I hit my list because I didn't know how to plug this album, and any chance I get to, I must do that. And this is Bill Ward's solo album. Okay, Ward won Along the Way, and Ozzy does 2 tracks on here. And if you're unfamiliar with them, they are incredible. This album is awesome. It came out in 1990. It's a killer freaking record. Eric Singer plays on here. Wild plays on here. It's got a goofy looking cover. Don't let the cover fool you. But if you're looking for something Ozzy that you haven't heard before, track this album down. If you're a Sabbath fan, if you don't know it, track this album down. It's an incredible record. So that said, okay, I'm going to start with my number 5 track. And I'm probably going to have some different tunes than most too. Just because when you've ingested so much Ozzy for so long, what were a lot of people's favorite songs, including my own at one time, they tend to wear off, Flying High Again, it's not going to be in my top 5 now. It was at one time, absolutely. Over the Mountain, same thing, that drum roll, come on. But my number 5 is going to be Breaking All the Rules off of No Rest for the Wicked. One reason that song, I love that track, was the video that Ozzy released for that. I call it Ozzy's happy video because he's just smiling and laughing through the whole video. And up to that point, you never really got to see Ozzy in that way. And so that song was always kind of special to me. Of course, I'm just absolutely killer track, killer riffs, awesome chorus. And Ozzy singing about what Ozzy does, breaking all the rules. And this record does not get a lot of love, and it really should. Given this grew on me later. I wasn't the biggest fan when it first came out, but I adore this album now. So that's number 5. And then number 4 is off of this masterpiece of a record, which I kind of consider this to be like Ozzy's Black Album. This was the one that kind of got him more notoriety amongst the normal than just the metal crowd. But I Don't Want to Change the World off this album. Same thing. This is like Ozzy's song to his critics, basically. His finger to his critics. Randy Castillo's drumming on that track is just pounding. Incredible song. There's a part where Randy on the snare and the hi-hat matches Zach's riff on the guitars, and it's just, man, it's a goosebump moment in the song. I just love this whole album, actually, in its own way. This album kind of stands on its own. It's very different than the other albums, but I love that track. I Don't Want to Change the World. That's my number 4. My number 3, and these could go in any order, really. The number 1 will never change, but off this masterpiece, Sinner of Eternity. The way that track opens, you got the bell tolls, the church bells, bong, bong, and then the Gregorian monks come in, and then the organ, the church organ, and then bang into Jakey Lee's riff is just, God, I love that song. It's Ozzy singing fast. Again, albums by Ozzy in his solo career, he has choruses, earworm choruses, without a doubt.
Yep.
Okay. And that song right there is one that is just always stuck with me. Absolutely love Sinner of Eternity, my favorite track on the album. Actually, I take that back. It's not my favorite track on the album, but it's one of. Okay. Number 2, let me pull this back up. would be the title track. When that song came out, I was right in the hype of going full-blown deep metal. Okay, I discovered metal, but when this album came out, I was right in the heat of it, and so I absorbed this album like water to sand. I mean, I just sucked it in, and that opening track and the title track is just forever embedded, and it's going to be tough to beat, but there is one. My number one Ozzy song has always been, this has never changed since the first time I heard it to today. My number one favorite track is I Don't Know off of Blizzard of Oz. It's the first track on the first album, on the first side, and the way this album opens in that track with the gong ringing out, the slide from Randy Rhoads into the riff, exploding, saying Ozzy is here. You know, Sabbath may still be, but this is Ozzy. That song, to this day, I will still get goosebumps listening to that track. I Don't Know, and this album to me is legend. This is the no one can touch this record. I mean, this is biblical, this album right here. And that song is the best album opener I can think of out of everything that I love and know. That track on this album, number one.
All right.
That's my 5 favorite Ozzy tracks.
Awesome. Well done. Rick.
All right. I guess everybody did it their own little way. So I wasn't sure if all-time Ozzy or Sabbath and solo. So what I did was...
You can do whatever you want, man. It's all good.
That's the wrong answer. Well, we know the wrong answer, but Marty took it off the list. But well, I did. I guess I'll do 5 Ozzy, 5 Sabbath. And my approach to this, it's also from a guitar playing perspective. Well, one of the first bands I started to jam and learn guitar with was the Sabbath material and Metallurgy, and Nirvana. Mm-hmm. So there was this trio of bands, that played over and over. I'm sure some of these songs you can't play in guitar shops, for good reason. But doesn't mean they're not good songs. So it hits us differently. So objectively, it's just really, really good songs, but also stuff that really just follows you through time and where you were at when you first heard these songs and all that stuff. So let me start with the Sabbath stuff because it was earlier, and kind of move on from there. And one of my early memories was Sweet Leaf, which I don't think anybody had on their list, which is another one that's, I guess you could say, a lot of the bands who started out in, stoner and all that stuff, it's a genre. You can always go back to Sabbath, but I think Sweet Leaf is one of those songs that also in of itself is a bit of a template song, that kind of helped move a whole over the years.
All right now.
And it's just fun to play, so it's addicting in that. So a lot of us listen to songs from listening from a stereo or a headphones, whatever perspective, but also how it feels when you play it. You know what I mean? So that's also another way it can kind of grab you, and just a cool song. Symptoms of the Universe is another one. It's just catchy as shit. You could put that on, and it's just another one that's a really good mover, and is very simple. And I think that was one of the strengths with a lot of those early Sabbath songs is there wasn't a whole lot from a complexity level going on. It was just for its time, very innovative, and everybody had their kind of approach to it, with Bill Ward with his loose jazzy drumming. Obviously, Ozzy has his own unique, sensibilities with his vocal approach, and everybody else is kind of doing what they do. Another one is Children of the Grave. I just love that song, man. And it's one of those songs that for a little bit, it kind of spoiled it for me just because it's been covered so many times, but so has so many other Sabbath songs. So I feel like the songs can feel overplayed just because it's been overly covered, I guess, if you will. So a lot of times I try to ignore the covers because I don't want it to have it ruined for me. I like to go back to the raw and original version as it is. So I don't get too tired of it because I just love it that much. NIB, classic, another one that's just sticks to me, and it's just has followed me for years. I put it on, I never get tired of it. And then for as far as Sabbath songs, Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, that's one that I also never get tired of. And when I make a playlist with Sabbath stuff, these are some of the essentials that always has to be in there. Some that barely made the list, but it's just because. But there are no bad Sabbath songs. But moving on to the Ozzy solo stuff. So this was hard too. I didn't start making this list until we started the stream. So this might change a little.
Hey, that you're learning all the tricks from me.
But it's the case. But yeah, so Ozzy Over the Mountain. It's like you're got the real big, catchy, chorusy stuff. Clearly, a lot of it's really made for radio, and it just has a lot of energy. And I just have it's a bit of a brighter song, especially when you move on to the more deeper and darker stuff. But those early songs, there was just a certain energy that I feel like that it captured between the production and just. I'm a little more biased towards the Randy side of things, as you might see here. Although Jake E. Lee is amazing in of itself, which also was the first guy to fill in right after Randy, which no pressure. And I'm going to move on to number 4. Make sure I can count here. Yeah, that is number 4. Diary of a Madman, and to me, that is a song that, because we were all joking about how Ozzy follows the riff, right?
Yeah.
And this is one of those times where he's forced to sing over a melody, right? And it's a bit of a, it's just his approach to that classical way of playing, but also kind of putting it towards his heavy metal elements. I also see the song as a bit like his Freebird, There's so many chunks and parts to this. That you can kind of break apart and dissect, but for some reason it just works so cohesively. Just kick-ass lead, everything that I want in that Ozzy song. It's in here. It's got the slow, it's got the fast parts. You know what I mean? But it's also kind of dreary in a way. Obviously for with the title track, Ultimate Sin. There we go. I got a Jake song in here, and another one's really catchy. And I love the chorus, and it's just another one that, from that album, I feel like this is the one I never skip. I find myself playing it more than others. There it is. Yeah, and that's just a kick-ass cover.
Boris Vallejo, baby.
Good luck trying to buy that on record nowadays. I've been trying to do it since I used to have the tape and it got eaten back when I was a teenager, and trying to buy the vinyl of it.
Well, it looks like we all got it, but you, Marty. Sorry.
Well, just one thing about that song, the held high note that Jakey Lee kind of that kind of runs
Ebo or something, yeah.
It's absolutely it's all the difference. Like that note just adds a whole other color to it. It's really, really beautiful. Jakey Lee's incredible.
Yeah, absolutely.
I agree. It's amazing. I feel like he doesn't get talked about a whole lot like the other guitarists as much for some reason. There's a certain span of time. I don't know. I feel like Zach gets brought up a lot, obviously, because he's still quite very active, with his other stuff, and his name just gets brought up a lot. He's playing with that other band now. I don't know. Everything that Laz said, I completely agree. And you kind of took a lot of my points I was going to go into. Going back to that time, and it's the first track of his first album, and that opening riff, I can only imagine the pressure on Ozzy at the time when that thing dropped. Was it September of that year? I forget what month it was.
Yeah.
Of 80. And it's, you know, he had a lot to prove, you know, doing this without his previous bands and knowing that he's replaced too. You know, it's just there's a lot to kind of measure up. Commercially, it was very, very successful and brought on the right people for this. And this is the track that precedes the even bigger single, right? But I feel like this one doesn't feel as overplayed, and it just sticks to your brain. It's like branded in your brain. You could just know every note. And but this is the era. Thing about this album, especially the Blizzard stuff and the Randy stuff, it's, you know, I started with the Sabbath, the guitarist point of view, but fuck man, Blizzard of Oz. it's one that still tests me, you know, and I don't think I'll ever achieve even a halfway point of a playability what he was able to achieve on that album as far as abilities. You know, you're competing with a prodigy, right? So that's just you know, just listen to that with my jaw just to the floor, just every time. It's just amazing. And then going on Logan and Sue's list, and I have to agree. And my favorite song is Mr. Crowley, and I think that it's very rare we get to experience Rhodes go to this sort of doomy kind of direction. You know, I don't call it a doomy song, but it has that feel to it. It's kind of, it has that bit of that tempo that goes on, you know, and that's what gravitates me towards that. I feel like that album needed a track like that, you know, the kind of set at a different pace, at a different kind of tone, and it's just, I love how dreary it is, you know. So for me, it's Mr. Crowley. Just fucking awesome.
It's the track that goes with the cover, in my opinion. You know, it's just that Ozzy's got that evil look, man. It's very Exorcist style cover, you know, with the cross and just the crazy look in his eye and the smoky attic, and it's, yeah, Mr. Crowley fits right in with that.
I had to go with the picture disc. Yeah, it was picture disc worthy for what it was.
Good deal. Yeah, let's circle back to Craig, because I know he's got to keep one eye on the clock.
Yeah.
So I'll make sure he's got time to, you know, bring up anything else he wants to before he has to jump.
Sure. Let me go through, if you don't mind. Let me sort of just hit the list.
Oh, please do. Yep. Take it away.
The top choices. So, yeah, I mean the here's my 10. Steal Away the Night, which I know Sue had. I think in the discussion of greatest bass guitar performances in metal history, this is part of the conversation. It's Bob Daisley's work on it is unbelievable. Obviously, has a hand in writing the songs, I think, on the first 3 albums, and then maybe he came in some point later on again. But the bass lines in that are great. The initial riff, like, couldn't have more energy. It's a beautiful, like, answer to Revelation Mother Earth, which happened before. Like, in terms of the penultimate, ultimate, like the last 2 songs on an album, like this is phenomenal stuff, and really great singing, awesome stuff. The one thing, like, I'll say about, like, I don't know that, which didn't make my list, but I do think it's a great song, is, man, that guitar solo is absolutely unbelievable. It's like, it would be in the conversation, like, what are the greatest metal guitar solos of all time? It would be in the conversation if there weren't 3 on the album that were better. But it's absolutely unbelievable. And it's only, like, I only wouldn't put that in the conversation with, like, with, like, Richie Blackmore on Highway Star and Michael Schenker on Desert Song and what's the big one on Built to Destroy? That Rock Will Never Die. That one. Like, anyways, amazing stuff on that one. So I've Steal Away the Night, Dirty Women, which for me, in this latter part of Sabbath, a lot of for me, the best Ozzy choruses exist. I will take a tangent to just do my favorite albums with Ozzy on them in order, which will kind of give away some of the rest of the list. Sort of tied for number 5 Diary of a Madman and Sabotage. Number 4, Blizzard of Oz. Number 3, Master of Reality. Number 2, Never Say Die. So I got the little shirt for it. And number 1, Bark at the Moon. So those are my favorite Ozzy. And this is the thing I'll say about Ozzy and Sabbath. Obviously, my favorite Ozzy album he did without Sabbath, and my favorite Sabbath album they did without Ozzy. So I remember when Dickinson left Maiden and he did Accidental Birth and Chemical Wedding, and Maiden did X Factor. I was like, these are the best things that these people have released apart from each other. So I don't know if it's the fire of having to prove themselves or whatever, but that you have a point in the 80s where it's like where Black Sabbath is giving you Born Again, Dio is giving you his albums, and Ozzy is putting out this stuff. It's kind of really wonderful how that's splintered and the fruits that we have from that period. So
true, good point. Yeah.
Dirty Women is phenomenal. That little dun, 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 like that little jazz break, and then the dun, 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 oh, dirty women, like they never mess around, like that stuff. Like that's where Ozzy's totally ripping his throat, and it's amazing. And then it goes to the really sweet harmony, like Never Say Die, which is my favorite Ozzy Sabbath album. Easy has a lot of kind of major chord, like major key stuff, and a lot of upbeat moments. The title cut is upbeat. Johnny Blade, which was lower on my list, but on this list, like these are bright spots, and I think you're getting a lot of different colors. And as a person whose favorite band for like almost my entire life and my entire adult life has been Blue Oyster Cult, it's nice having the mix of colors. So number 8 on the list of best tunes, which I mentioned earlier, is Solitude. Like this is, I mean, that all of that. The world is a lonely place. Like all of that stuff is beautiful. For a very long time, I thought this was Bill Ward singing. There are some spots that sound like Ozzy, and a lot of spots that don't. I think that song is gorgeous. I'm a huge Floyd fan. They're actually number 4 on my list of favorite bands of all time. This is like Set the Controls for the Heart of the Sun, but much, much, much better. It's extremely emotional. This was the hardest tune for me to listen to, since Ozzy's passing, and it's he's not doing that head voice. It's a very different thing, and I think they amped him in a different way. But it's absolutely gorgeous. I like Planet Caravan, which Logan mentioned, but to me, this is returning to that same territory and doing it even better. So Black Sabbath, the band's name, the first album, that song is wonderful. I mean, that is the horror movie experience as a song. The leaping into 6/8 at the end is great. The wah-wah used in that when all the guitars start getting layered in the ending. This is why, like, when Sabbath was getting more progressive, for me, it was a couple of albums until they were really landing the endings. But you look at the first song, like the first album, the song Black Sabbath, and how well that ends, and the punctuation, the momentum, all that stuff is fantastic. One of the many songs on Diary of a Madman, much better than Marty's beloved Little Dolls, SATO. SATO, one of the 4 songs from the solo career of Ozzy that I consider a straight-up masterpiece. That riff is incredible. The soloing is unbelievable. The momentum of this, the harmonic noises after the solo when they return, it sounds like Randy is biting his guitar to get those tones. It's absolutely brilliant stuff. Fantastic tune. Then for me, the highest ranked Sabbath song with Ozzy singing would be Junior's Eyes. That is
great song.
That was another one that I had a pretty hard time listening to since Ozzy's passing. There's a lot of yearning in that all of the weaving of the really beautiful vocal part when the coming home again tomorrow, and Iommi is doing all of this kind of answering lead guitar to those refrains, and it's absolutely beautiful stuff. Like really, like kind of two lead voices in those choruses with all of the beautiful stuff that Iommi's doing. And I feel for the most part, most of my favorite lead guitar from Iommi came from the 80s. The Mob Rules and like with Over and Over and Turn Up the Night. I think those are Iommi's two finest moments ever. But this is pretty high up there, and a really great song, really great harmonies. And then to get to number 3, yet another song Marty should have chosen over Little Dolls. We get this gem, the title cut here, which I think I didn't really hear this on the radio at the time. I suppose
This was on my list. God damn it.
Yeah, this song is incredible. Like in terms of songs that definitely of Black Sabbath, Ozzy, Dio, like Ian Gillan, Deep Purple, the extended family connected to this. That song is my favorite that ever became a radio hit. The singing is incredible. Talk it on I Don't Know, Randy kind of shows you, here's all the stuff I can do right away announcing on the first album. And Jakey Lee does it with Bark at the Moon on this album. Now, I have the two different versions of this. I have actually many different versions of this. So the UK version is the one that has spiders, which should not be the album closer. Instead of Slow Down, it's better than that. But the unfortunate thing for me is that UK version that has that upgrade starts with Rock and Roll Rebel, which is the only song on the album I don't really care for. I think the album is amazing, but that one I could kind of take or leave. And this is, a ton of momentum, and I think Jakey Lee said he'd kind of written this song for like kind of a glam band, and then he added in the, you have the riff, and then the like that little trill that really gives it this kind of gothic, much darker, more sinister kind of character. But even like when it's sort of doing the verse chorus thing, then there is that whole that whole section where it goes into the heavy part, they cursed and buried him along with shame, and you get all these absolutely crazy harmonic pinches from Jakey Lee, and really like that heavy section adds something. But one of the reasons I adore metal is it can sometimes function in these different levels, like some of the shrieking we get from a Halford, or Ian Gillan in his prime, and Ozzy, with a lot of that yelling stuff, but also a composed virtuoso solo. The way the solos by Jakey Lee in this, like that is part of that conversation of greatest solos ever. All of that stuff, like this, like that song, that's brilliant songwriting with lead guitar. Like that, you get the one version of that with all those hammer-ons that it's impossible to sing. But then when it's the reprise at the end of all of that, he does that little tag of the like fantastic stuff. Absolutely, like this song was already excellent singing, excellent riffs, amazing energy, beautiful production. Tommy Aldridge is knocking it out of the park. And then you have that thing that metal does. Like there isn't another genre that's giving you that sort of solo with that sort of intensity. And to me, that does go all the way back to Ritchie Blackmore and Highway Star, with the classical stuff, with the hammer-ons, with the wah-wahs, and all the stuff that Marty Friedman is giving you all over Rust in Peace. It's just absolutely brilliant stuff. Then we get to number 2, definitely the most talked about song from the Ozzy solo career. Actually, the most talked about song, period, in this stream so far, Mr. Crowley. Now, I've been waiting for Alan to leap in because he is the pronunciation police. And do you have anything to add at this point?
He gets it wrong on occasion. Like Kirith Ungle, come on.
Well, it's Crowley. It's Aleister Crowley. That's actually how his name is said. So it's not how I grew up with it, but and I guess do what thou wilt and pronounce his name however thou wilt.
Nicely done.
Thank you. But Mr. Crowley is an absolute masterpiece. There is no other song I can think of that has two separate solos, each of which could be in the conversation for the single best guitar solo in heavy metal history. I go back and forth as to which one I like more. The dive bombing, that Mr. Crowley, like that dive bombing at the end of the first one is so good, but the second one is so beautifully composed with that harmony guitar intro, the like all of that stuff leading into the solo, and you get Ozzy vamping over it. But this song is a masterpiece. This is one of my favorite songs in the history of music. Thinking about the song gives me chills. There's a very enjoyable live performance of it with Tommy Aldridge on drums. So I guess I don't always know what lineup, because I'm like, this is Lee Kerslake, I believe, on this album, but it looks like it's Tommy Aldridge on drums, but it's Randy playing the solos, and these are high watermarks, and they're, I'm grateful that Ozzy gave us so much good music, sang so much good stuff, wrote so much stuff, and certainly one of the top few gifts I think that he gave the world was Randy Rhoads. And I'm an atheist from a Jewish family. If in the top reasons to wish there were a heaven, it would be the new Randy Ozzy collaboration. like what I wouldn't pay for that.
With Lemmy writing lyrics.
Yeah, and it's great stuff. Also, just an aside, I have these Japanese, like, if there's a Japanese version of an album I like, I get it, because they tend to sound better. And this one for this has a song, "You Looking at Me, Looking at You." That's I guess it's a B-side from this. Anyone who hasn't heard that and wants to hear more Randy and Ozzy from this era, it's incredible. It's not incredible. It's a really good song. It's certainly better than No Bone Movies, which is the song I'm like, okay, that's on here.
But is it better than Little Dolls, Greg?
It's better than Little Dolls. It is not quite as good as Tonight, but it's better than Little Dolls. Mr. Crowley, or Mr. Crowley as he prefers to be called. Mr. Crowley is, this is an amazing song. Again, like, for there to be one song that has two separate solos where each one you could say is this, but the vibe of it, the keyboards. I'm trying to think, is it Johnny Blade? There is a song, I Never Say Die, that has a keyboard intro that very much seems like the precursor to Mr. Crowley, and that's great. And then instantly, when it's like, what's your favorite Ozzy song? This answer has never changed once since the moment I heard it, and it is "Waiting for Darkness." That thing is an absolute,
that's a great song. Yeah.
Flat out masterpiece. I'd heard that Ozzy wanted John Sykes. Maybe when Randy passed. At some point, he wanted to work with John Sykes.
Oh, that would have been cool.
And I'm a giant Thin Lizzy fan. That's a favorite band of all time for me as well. And you think of a song like "Holy Wars" on Thunder and Lightning with John Sykes in it, and to me, there's a bit of a connection. All that palm muting, but the singing is so tasteful. And again, like, this is like, there's a reason that my favorite album to have Ozzy of all time is this one. Is his refrains are so good that "You're No Different," "Bark at the Moon," "Now You See It," "Waiting for Darkness." I mean, like half of like my favorite songs recorded by this guy ever are on this album. And the gothic quality of that, all of the palm muting of that main riff, all of the super sharp punctuation from Tommy Aldridge, all that stuff where he's sort of popping with the toms and then throwing in a surprise snare. That song is just, amazing. And then when the whole time it sort of feels like, actually a little bit in the way Don't Stop Believing works, is it doesn't really land the full refrain until the end, and then it rides it out. And so this whole time you kind of like waiting for darkness, and then you're sort of moving around, but that waiting for darkness, waiting for darkness, do, and again, masterclass bass playing. Geezer's my favorite bassist in metal history. That answer has been the same since I was a teenager in the 80s. There aren't many performances I would compare to the best Geezer and say are as good as the best Geezer. This is on Waiting for Darkness, on Spiders, the UK cut. Daisley is phenomenal. So that's one of my favorite songs ever. And all, like this whole list, these last 10 are all in that conversation. But like the first time I heard Waiting for Darkness, I'm like, that is his pinnacle. Like there's never been anything that's touched that. And prior to hearing that, I thought it was Mr. Crowley. I'm like, he is nothing that's quite that magical, sinister, and then with those great leads. But a lot of great music, from this guy and all of these. And I've got to say, when I was having the listening and spinning all these albums, listening to this stuff just before Ozzy passed, just kind of as a result of just being in the mood for Sabbath with the whole concert and everything. I got to say, the album that's really like leaping higher and higher and higher on my list is Technical Ecstasy.
Me too.
That was one where for a long time I was like, this is like a not quite formed version of Never Say Die, which is my favorite of the Ozzy Sabbaths. But man, Backstreet Kids is really good. You Won't Change Me. The solos are great. I enjoy It's All Right. Gypsy, the solos, those are Iommi's best.
Great song too.
Yeah, great song, and a song that climaxes at the end. And I think the solos in that are Iommi's best guitar solos in the 1970s. All Moving Parts Stand Still is incredible. Rock and Roll Doctor I could have done without. That seems like they're one bit at like, hey, maybe we should do a Kiss song, and it didn't quite land. She's Gone is enjoyable, and then Dirty Women is one of my, that's on the masterpiece list and like one of my top favorite Sabbath songs ever. So I won't be surprised if in a little while this surpasses Sabotage and Volume 4 for me, on the Sabbath list. But what an amazing legacy of music, and really, really, like there's a lot to celebrate. One last list before I take off, and should be quick, and that's just the Ozzy solo albums. Lots of discussion on Sabbath, lots of discussion over a few early Ozzy solo albums. I don't like them all. I don't think he ever made a bad album. I think he made 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 that are just mediocre. So counting from the bottom up, Down to Earth, that one is really just almost like a flat line. That I feel doesn't have good songs or bad ones. There's just a lot of average. Ordinary Man, I think, has some good songs and some really bad ones. Undercover has some pretty interesting covers. I mean, certainly hearing him sing a King Crimson song was cool for me. Scream, sort of like Ordinary Man, but a tiny bit better. Has some winners and some losers. Black Rain has some winners and losers. But I think overall those albums are all kind of like 5s, and I wouldn't recommend those. I don't think they're bad. But that's kind of completist only for me in terms of my estimation of them. No Rest for the Wicked I enjoy. That's the leap up in quality. No More Tears I enjoy. For me, the real surprise, and this is the thing that I learned while, like going through the whole catalog and listening to like 10 Ozzy albums a day, Patient Number 9. I like this album. I think this is absolutely his first, like the first album. Like I went out and I found a Japanese edition of it. That's going to be, that'll probably sound a little bit better and certainly will cost a little bit more. But I found a Japanese version of this and I ordered this. So that was a real pleasant discovery for me. Like if like Osmosis, I liked when it came out, and I kept buying his albums for a while, hoping there was another one of those. I think there's a lot of good material on that. But Patient, if someone is just dropped off after Ultimate Sin, there are 2 albums I recommend where I think there's a lot of really, really good singing. And it's Patient Number 9 and Osmosis. And Patient Number 9 has Iommi is on the album. Eric Clapton is on the album. Jeff Beck is on the album. Zakk Wylde is on the album. But and I don't know if it was like in the argument of Patient Number 9 versus Black Sabbath's 13, Patient Number 9 wins easily. I think the strength of both albums is the singing, but I think the singing is better on Patient Number 9, and these guitarists are really coming up with interesting solos. I would not think that Clapton would fit well with Ozzy, but he does. And that album has like 5 or 6 really, really enjoyable tunes. So I think a full notch better than Black Sabbath's 13 and worth checking out. Osmosis I enjoy. That's number 5 on this list. Ultimate Sin, I think Never is incredible. Vinny Appice is one of my favorite drummers of all time, and Randy Castillo's performance on that sounds like a Vinny Appice tribute. The title cut is good. Killer of Giants is good. Shot in the Dark. Quick question before I go. I do need to leave pretty soon. Am I the only one who every time I hear Shot in the Dark, I think Rock and Roll Children by Dio?
No, you're not the only one who thinks that.
I never put the two together, but
To me, they just sound like
they're the same style of track for sure.
I think they're the exact same chord progression. I always wonder because it came out 1 year after Dio's song, and I'm a huge fan of both singers, but I definitely think Rock and Roll Children is many notches better than Shot in the Dark, and they are so similar. Like they're just the same progression. And I kind of wonder, because that was the one song on Ultimate Sin, I think, written by the bassist. What's his name? Like Bill Susan or something like that. And I almost wonder if he was punking Ozzy. Like, knowing that there's some animosity there. He's like, I'm going to take this D song and I'm going to give it to him. And then someday he's going to realize that he's saying this. It's really similar. It's not a passing similarity. They, to me, are the same. They're both very good. And Ozzy, Marty put this on his original list of shame, because Shot in the Dark is better than Mr. Crowley, right, Marty? Please
no,
for me,
dude. I picked. I'm going to explain when I go to talk about my list. I'll explain my methods. My methods are my own.
It's better than Bark at the Moon, right?
Bark at the Moon is my number 1 on my list. Spoiler alert: Bark at the Moon is number 1 on my list.
Okay. Okay. So, but I like. That aside, Ultimate Sin I really enjoy. That's one that, again, since his passing, I spun it like 3 times. I was like, oh, this album is a lot better than I remember it. And Randy Castillo.
The title track on Ultimate Sin for me is just insanely hard and good. Love that track.
The title track is great. Killer of Giants is great. Never is definitely my standout, partly because of the drum stuff. Like that
the riffs are bonkers. They're great. It's a great song.
It's all there. I wish this album had some Jakey Lee solos as good as like some of the stuff of Bark at the Moon, but his playing is phenomenal all over it. Like it's a great performance.
I can do without Secret Loser. I'm not a fan of Secret Loser.
I like that one. I like that. I'm with that. I'm with that chorus. I admit perhaps I'm empathizing with the Secret Loser. A Diary of a Madman is number 3. Blizzard of Oz number 2. Bark at the Moon number 1. But the real finds for me, and I guess recommendations for those who just stopped after Ultimate Sin or stopped after Bark at the Moon, which my guess is a lot of serious metalheads did, is Osmosis and Patient Number 9. I think there's a lot of good stuff. I was very happy that Patient Number 9 was this good, that this is his thing. And then one last question before I go is, because I don't know if this is intentional or not. So Ozzy recorded 9 albums with Sabbath, right?
Yep.
His last album, solo album, Patient Number 9. Ozzy recorded 13 solo albums. His last album with Sabbath is 13. Is it like in terms of these are the only albums he has with numbers, and I don't know if
That's a weird coincidence.
It's probably just weird coincidence, but it is odd. Like this isn't someone who was all the time using numbers in song names. But
since Craig is a fan of Patient Number 9, I want to ask you a quick question, Craig.
I don't know the album well. I've just spun it.
No. That's okay. Do you like the cover? I've never liked this cover. I like the color. I like everything, but Ozzy's hand in front of his mouth like he's chewing on his finger.
Yeah, I'm not loving it. It's certainly a masterpiece compared to this version of Black Rain that I got when it came out.
Yeah.
That looks like, I mean, it looks like the album came recycled.
Yeah, right.
I mean, this is total garbage.
Yeah.
I've got to say, it should be illegal.
Poor man's promo.
Where you can't find out who played on the album in the album. Like, that should be against the law. You should have actual something. This thing has absolutely, like, if you want to know anything about this album, you must go online. So I know that this was the one that I just bought at the time. But no, I'm not patient number 9. I'm not really, that cover doesn't mean much to me. I'm going to say outside of kind of the charm / camp of Blizzard, Bark at the Moon, and Diary. Really, the only Ozzy cover I really like is Ultimate Sin, because I like painted artwork and fantasy artwork and monsters and shit. Like I like fantasy and horror, and I want to see that sort of stuff. But yeah. So, anyways, that was the other list, and I just say to people who've just dismissed all of the post Jakey Lee, or maybe just stopped with No More Tears, which seems another jumping off point. Osmosis and Patient Number 9, I think, are both actually worth your time. With Patient Number 9, I mean, considering the 5 albums preceding that, I think are all like 5s out of 10, and I wouldn't recommend any of them. For him to come up with his last album, and I mean, probably the same thing with that final show, like he said, like wanting to end on a good note, and like have something solid at the end of his legacy. So that's my stuff. Those are my thoughts. I gotta hear Marty what your list is now.
My list is pretty underwhelming. I'm just going to put it out there.
I've asked you so much. I gotta hear it before I go, but I don't have a ton of time.
Well, I'll go first. You want me to go first, and then Alan, you be the
Yeah. Go, please go right
cleanup crew.
Give S. Craig Zoller something to seethe over for the rest of the evening before he has to exit.
Well, my approach to this list was, I knew everybody. There's the hits, the stuff everybody loves. I knew everybody was going to pick those. So and the longer I've been listening to Ozzy and Sabbath, I've been gravitating more towards the deep cuts. That's why I've been finding a lot more appreciation of albums like Technical Ecstasy.
Little Dolls is pretty fucking
some
deep,
real
dude.
dolls in the rough there, Marty, maybe.
That's right. And that and Never Say Die. I've always loved Never Say Die, but I've heard all the other songs so much. It's good. And even on this Ozzy stuff, I really have kind of found that the more emotional songs, they're like the emotional mortar that hold the rock songs together on an album. And I find myself, you really hear what a singer is capable of when they're singing more from the heart and less rocking and yelling, and more actual singing melody lines. So I've found, as older I've gotten, I've been gravitating towards those songs more. So my list is kind of going off of that.
Yep. That's a good point.
Holy
actually,
shit, is
Marty,
this a disclaimer?
because that's
Such a disclaimer.
that style fits Ozzy, man.
You should like, the following opinion is only an opinion. Feel free to put that one.
Marty Worm presents big hair hits of the Ozzy 80s.
Is that Freedom Rock? We'll turn it up, man. What were you saying, Dwayne?
I was just saying that's a good point that you brought up, because when Ozzy does that sing from the heart, whether it's Mama, I'm Coming Home, that style, it fits him very, very well. His voice, he's able to emote that in his voice very, very well.
Agreed, 100%.
So yeah, some singers I don't think can pull that off as well as him, for sure. There's something about when he does it, though, as a listener, I'm feeling it right along with him very easily. I don't have to try at all. So
yep. All right. Well, I have an Ozzy list and a Sabbath list, but I'll just go with the Ozzy list for now. Killer of Giants, of course. The 80s, you were contractually bound by someone to have a song about nuclear war on your album, so this one checks the box. But it's a great emotional track. Obvious, but very endlessly catchy chorus. No More Tears. Again, this and Mama, I'm Coming Home are both on my honorable mentions. both of these are overplayed to death, but I always liked both of these songs. No More Tears is the heavier of the two. Mama, I'm Coming Home's prettier, more emotional. They played them to death. MTV killed those two songs for me and that album for more or less. But another honorable mention, Shot in the Dark off the Ultimate Sin. I have not listened to this record. Like I said, I had the tape when I was a kid and it got eaten in a tape deck. And I started listening to it again for the back to the beginning thing. Shot in the Dark. MTV killed that song too, but it's a fluffy commercial song, but I really like the chorus. It's like crack. It's a well-crafted song. Never off of Ultimate Sin. Holy shit. Listening to that about 3 times today. It really stands out because of the bonkers riff work on here. Jake really kind of shows a little bit of influence and a salute to Randy Rhoads and his playing on this one. Ozzy is a slightly higher range on this song than the rest of the album. I think I was kind of blown away. Great song. And I got to say, The Ultimate Sin, is it possible to put any more reverb on an album? I don't think it is. I think they found the mark where it was probably too much, but they couldn't have gone any more. Okay.
Why it's called The Ultimate Sin.
Yeah, right. It's just, that thing is just swimming in reverb. It's crazy. But yeah, number 5, SATO, banger track. And this is like Zoller was commenting on Bob Daisley's bass playing. It really stands out on this track as well. There's a very playful bass line in this thing. It's a great song. Number 4, You're No Different off of Bark at the Moon. Again, I always gravitated to more of these darker ballad-like tracks. Yeah, Ozzy's voice is always very honest and well suited, like Dwayne said, for the emotional tracks like this. He just feels like the point is coming from a different place. He can really put more emotion behind his performance. Tonight, number 3, baby. Number 3, Deep Cut. Love this freaking song, especially the chorus. He's singing up higher register. He sings beautifully on the track. Yeah, a little bit of a symphonic influence on here. Diary of a Madman's got a lot of that with the synths and the piano layering and stuff, and it kind of dates the album a bit, but it really works well, especially on this track. A track like Tonight is suited for that sort of embellishment for sure.
I think it dates it in a good way, to be honest.
Yeah.
I like it.
Number 2 for me, Revelation Mother Earth off of Blizzard of Oz. I got to say, this sounds like a Lost Sabbath song, 100%. It could have been on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath, where they started to get a little more drug-addled, but a lot more experimental, doing weird little things. This feels, again, another heartfelt track. It's a zone that Ozzy's voice lives very comfortably in. Number 1, Bark at the Moon. I had to pick one that was, is there a better opening track? God, it's just so freaking, the riffing on it is so sharp. And the way the production is and how Ozzy's voice sits within these riffs, it just feels like a full frontal attack. And I remember first time my parents and we went to La Senorita. It was the only Mexican food place here in Traverse City at the time. And we didn't have cable. I grew up without cable and it sucked, let me tell you. But in the waiting room, they had MTV on and you play it low and Bark at the Moon video came on. I'm sitting there watching this video and I was just blown away how awesome this was. I'm like, holy shit, I'm getting this tape 100%. I hadn't heard it yet at that point, but yeah. Should I rattle off my Sabbaths too, or move on? Alan, you want to?
If Craig needs to jump, let's give him a chance to.
Yeah, no, I need to jump. I would love to hear Alan's list. I've got 5. I don't want to rush you, Alan. If you want to take time, if you think you can kind of get through yours in 5, I'd love to hear it before I bounce.
I can go through in 5, no problem. I'll keep it pretty short and sweet. I picked only 5 songs.
I'm very curious.
No problem. Yeah, I picked only 5 songs. There's 2 Ozzy solo songs, 3 Sabbath songs, and I aimed for favorite Ozzy performances. So not necessarily my favorite songs that he performed on, but songs where I thought he really stole the show and the performances. Kind of keeping with the current topic, and these are in no order except for number 1. So keeping kind of the current topic of Ozzy having that kind of sad component to his voice and being really well suited to those songs. The one I like a lot is Road to Nowhere. It's been played to death. And it
Great
in
song.
one hand,
That was a good song.
it can feel a lot like just another one of those big '80s ballads, but the lyrics to that song, the way Ozzy delivers it always has a lot of emotional impact. That album, No More Tears, came out for him in September of '91. He's already past 40 years old. You're going into the '90s. Music is changing. It came out a month after the Black Album and a week before Nevermind. And yet somehow he managed to still, stay relevant and keep his head above water when so many others, got lost in that flood of those two albums.
Yep.
So yeah, Road to Nowhere makes it. The other solo track for me is Mr. Crowley and Crowley. I didn't know that, Craig. That's really cool. So yes, Mr. Crowley, a great song, great tone to it. Like Rick said, the doomy quality of it works well, and it really does give that album some weight that helps it along. Moving to the 3 Sabbath tracks. Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath. I love this song a lot too, but I really like Ozzy's just kind of pained and angry delivery on it. When he's singing lines like the people who crippled you, you want to see them burn. Everyone's been screwed over in life, and those two lines, it comes back, it triggers you, and you're just like, goddamn right, I want to see them burn. And everybody thinks of somebody that line connects with. I think everybody in the human race. Next one from the debut album, Warning. Now, I know this is a cover song, but I've always liked Ozzy's delivery on it. It's obviously a very bluesy song, but a very dark song as well. And yeah, Ozzy's completely in the rhythm of the track. Just the way he kind of repeats that line, just a little bit too long, and the song just picks right back up and rolls along. It's got a great rhythm to it. I've always loved his performance on that.
That's kind of him dipping. That's kind of him a little bit closer to what Bobby Liebling would sort of make a career doing that. That's
kind of so.
Yeah,
that's a good point.
That's an interesting. I wouldn't have picked. That's an interesting pick. Cool.
Just one that I've always loved his performance on. My favorite Ozzy vocal performance, however, is very easily, and Craig, it was on your list, Solitude. That song is so unique in all of Sabbath's catalog, and on that album particularly, like you said, that album is darkness. It's loud. It's disconcerting, and right there before you get to the end of it, there's this one moment of beauty in the dark. Ozzy never sang really anything like that with Sabbath again. And yeah, it doesn't sound like him at all because he never tried to do that again. And it's tranquil, it is peaceful, it is beautiful, it is wistful. It's one of my favorite Sabbath songs of all time, and it's certainly my favorite vocal performance from Ozzy. So those would be my top 5. And Greg, I know you got to run. Thank you so much for taking some time to join us. We know you've got a packed schedule, and we do really appreciate you setting aside a little time to hang out and go over stuff.
Pleasure. Obviously I tend to go on and on and on and on.
Oh no, it's great. It's great. We joke about it, but we love having you on.
Hell yeah.
Sure. But yeah, Marty, your improved. Your list is you get a
Thanks, Dad.
You get a gold star, Marty.
You didn't disappoint me that much tonight. So
Can I show one thing before Craig goes? Just because you brought up Bark at the Moon so much. Do you have the European single, Bark at the Moon?
No, what's on there?
It's so basically, obviously, you got the main thing, but the B-side, you got One Up the B-side and Slow Down, which is a lot of you will find One Up the B-side as kind of like a bonus track.
I have One Up the B-side on this Japanese blue spec disc.
Okay,
so I have that. It's a good song.
The difference was that Waiting for Darkness was not the last track on the European one. It was Spiders.
Right.
And so Slow Down was the bonus track here, which was the normal track on the US side.
Yeah.
I found very interesting, when you pick up the single, I'm looking at it, and at the time I didn't realize it was the European version, of this. But it was very interesting, just kind of see where they decided to do that track order listing in the way that they did it. A lot of guys were talking about Bark the Moon and kind of where it was on your list, so I thought it was at least worth a mention. If you're picking up either edition, but I think a lot of us tuning in are from this corner of the world, so might find that a little peculiar.
Yeah, no, it's interesting to think about, like, but I mean, again, like for me, ultimately, the fact that Rock and Roll Rebel leads off the European, and that's the one song on the album I don't like. It's kind of a bummer starting on one song I don't like, as opposed to a straight up masterpiece that is absolutely invigorating, and then the album. So it's tough because I think Spiders is great. I think that song is really, really good, but it's not an album closer because it's so unlike anything else on the album. As I said,
it's really odd. Yeah, they closed that one a European version.
Yeah. So, and as is often the case when there's a different version for Europe, and here we kind of get the dumber one. We get the one that, like, let's take away something weird and put something that's made for the stadium. And I like Slow Down, but definitely that's more stadium friendly than Spiders, which is like as unstadium friendly as could be. So, ultimately, I prefer the American version of the album, and it's my favorite of all the, it's my favorite Ozzy album, Sabbath included. But there are some interesting things with that other one. So worth pointing out. I got to scram. Thank you so much for having me. And let's obviously it's good to remember Ozzy, and I'll be spinning tons of these albums over the coming weeks, as I imagine many people will, and look forward to just like more discoveries in it, in his catalog, and just finding all these special moments. So see you folks later. Thank you so much for having me on.
Thanks, man. See you later.
Greg, take care.
Cheers.
Hi, Craig.
Let's see. All right, I think everyone's done. Yeah, some favorite song stuff. I know some folks had other things they wanted to show.
I know Sue had some memorabilia she wanted to show, I think.
Logan, are you on a bit of a clock also? Or are you doing okay on time?
I'd say within the next 30 minutes to an hour, I gotta jump.
Okay, let's let Sue show her memorabilia.
No, Logan,
we'll
you cannot
Logan
leave
for anything else he wants to.
You are stuck here with us. Be a team player.
In eternity.
Yeah,
all right.
Sue, did you get your laptop cord all straightened out?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, I did.
Didn't want to put you on the spot if you were.
Oh,
still
yeah.
working
I shouldn't have put
tech.
you on the spot. Sorry.
Sue wins
No
because she
problem.
has Master of Reality pillows, and I just think that's awesome.
Yes, so those are from the End tour, which was in 2017. We got those. So that's definitely
They even have
a unique
tassels. That
item.
is so awesome.
That is hilarious. Yeah, the tassels. Nice touch.
Yeah, like, check it out. We have two of them.
That is rad.
That's
Very
awesome.
cool.
And this is a Black Sabbath cross candle holder.
Oh, cool.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, John got that one before.
But it's not headless.
You like that when you sacrifice your cat.
And let's see what else I have here. This is Black Sabbath Live Gathered in Their Masses. It's a DVD set. We put it on the other day, and it's amazing. It's Blu-ray DVDs. And
What is that, like documenting a tour, or is it just a bunch of random stuff?
yeah, it was what tour was this? Oh, it was 2013. Yeah, it was that reunion tour I think they did.
Ah, okay.
And so, as I've mentioned before, we were friendly with John and Marcia Zazula, and they were kind of like the American Ozzy and Sharon.
Sure.
And they actually were friends. They knew Ozzy and Sharon, and they did business together. And so Ozzy had invited them to a special like party. And this was the pass that Johnny had for that. It was for No Rest for the Wicked. I guess this was a backstage pass for the concert, I guess, when they came through this area. But they put like Johnny's picture on it, which is kind of funny. And then this was another thing from Johnny Z. This was, it says, It's a CD, but it's an invitation. It says CBS Associated Records invites you to a night of wicked revelry in a theater of the bizarre to celebrate 20 years of platinum with Ozzy Osbourne. So this was party invitation.
Huh.
Neat.
Yeah, it says invitation for you, RSVP a must, don't tempt fate. And then it's the address, and no one admitted after the stroke of midnight. So that's a unique piece. Then this was actually a Craigslist acquisition. These are signed pictures of Sabbath, and these are real signatures.
Oh, neat.
Yeah. We have this one of Tony. And user and Bill. I don't think we have one of just Ozzy by himself, unfortunately. Oh, no, here it is. Yeah. It says, we love you all.
Oh, good pick.
Nice
Yeah.
one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so these are keepers.
Let me see that picture again, Sue.
Sure thing.
Wow, he almost looks like Tom G. Warrior from Celtic Frost.
Yeah,
Kinda.
no, it's the same
little bit.
pose. You're right. Yeah, with that kind of upward. Yeah.
The way his eyes are all totally darkened, you know.
Isn't that something? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a cool shot.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
Yep. And then this looks like I don't really know what this is. It's a packet, probably a pressed packet, I guess. It was like a little cartoon drawing.
Oh,
of
that's
them.
cool.
Huh.
Looks like crumb art.
It does. Wonder if it is.
Yeah, I don't know. Then this says, okay, so what's the story? I'm being corrected here. So, yeah.
That's from a fan club from 1979, right before Ozzy was fired.
Oh, okay.
It was sent over here.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for clarifying.
And behind that CD, they carved in Ozzy rules.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
yeah, that came in that folder. And then I have clippings of when Randy died.
Oh, yeah, this is a whole
Show in the
folder.
front. That is.
Oh,
that was
wow.
fan club. Came in that. All that came in that.
Yeah. Yeah, and there's all these newspapers.
Geezer's dressed up like Colonel Sanders.
It's like Randy died. There's a review at the Spectrum.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then this is just like a little ribbon that they dropped from the ceiling of the Spectrum, I guess it was.
Oh, that's
Just
cool.
saw them there.
99.
Yep.
I
And
love
then
stuff like that.
this was the reunion tour book. Tour books are like such a great souvenir.
Absolutely.
It's a shame that more bands don't do them still. So, okay, so that's the memorabilia, but I have a couple of quick stories too.
Go for it.
So the first Black Sabbath concert in America was played like 3 miles from where I live in the town of Glassboro, New Jersey, at what used to be called Glassboro State, but is now Rowan University, where John actually went. And that was his alma mater. But it was, back way in the beginning. And so they plugged in their amplifiers, and they were like the European type of electrical settings. And first they blew out the power in the venue. Then they blew out the power in the campus. And then they blew out the power of the whole town. It didn't go very well, as you can imagine. So,
Wow.
and the other thing was that somebody mentioned Boris Vallejo, who was the artist who did The Ultimate Sin.
Yeah.
I grew up in a town called Maplewood, New Jersey. And for some reason, we had a few famous people who lived there. And Boris Vallejo lived there. And I went to school with his children. And he came into our art class one time and told us about his story and everything. And so
That's cool.
That's
Mhm.
awesome.
yeah.
Wow.
Wow.
Oh.
Oh, and just getting back to the songs, My Thunder was completely stolen. Everybody had my favorite Sabbath songs. So number one happens to be Warning, which Alan was talking about. It actually
cool.
gives me goosebumps. Yeah.
Did you go through your Sabbath songs, or you?
No, I didn't, but it's all right. They've all been covered.
Oh, okay.
I'm sorry, I forgot. Yeah, you did your Ozzy songs, but not your Sabbath
Yes.
songs.
hmm
All right. Well, awesome memorabilia and stories. Thanks, Sue.
That's
Sure.
some cool stuff. Folks in the chat are geeking out over it for sure. And some
Yeah.
of your fans from your Maniacs days are saying hello over there in the chat too,
Oh,
just
cool.
in case you missed it.
Well, cool. Does anybody have anything?
Let's let Logan get front and center. He hasn't had a chance, and he's also kind of keeping an eye on the clock.
Yeah, if I'm out of here by, I guess, midnight Eastern, I'll be good. That's the pumpkin bewitching hour or whatever.
Fair.
Taking people to the airport tomorrow morning.
Logan,
So,
we talked about this. You can't go.
I got. We'll see what happens. We'll get there and we'll see what happens. So I'm thinking with I don't have any cool memorabilia. I wish I did.
Get that sweet poster.
That sweet poster, which by the way, I bought that at Walmart on Tuesday when he passed away. I had been eyeing this fucking poster at Walmart for months. It was $5, and I was like, if I just buy that Ozzy poster, I'm a poser because it's from Walmart. But then he passed away. And I was like, all right, we're gonna do it. So I got the frame and everything, and
So wait a minute. So you bought the poster and he
Yeah.
died the next day.
No, he died that day, and then I went out and bought the poster.
You made a special trip to Walmart to buy the poster.
Yes.
There you go. There you go.
After his passing, and and some beer to pour out for him. And
Probably sold out at Walmart, so he wouldn't have a good time. I'm just saying.
So it took him to die for you to buy an Ozzy poster?
Yes, it did. I see.
I'm just asking. I'm just
listen.
You're one of those people that run
I
out
am
and
one
buy
of
all the
those
stuff up
people.
as soon as you hear they've passed away.
It's exactly. I felt bad, but I had to do it, and I got a weird thing with the Ozzy solo stuff. Like my first Ozzy solo album that I bought was Scream. If that was your first Ozzy solo album, wouldn't you feel a little weird about, or not be the biggest fan?
I'm just saying, Logan,
yes,
buying the poster right after he dies, that technically puts you a level below the person who buys the T-shirt at the concert and then immediately puts it on for the concert. You're looking up the ladder to see those people right now.
You know what? I'm okay being a level below that.
The only thing saving you right now is the Bark at the Moon piece on the other side. So what is that?
Now this one
that's
I
the
actually, this one I actually had. This is one of the first records I ever got from secondhand. And look at this, Marty. You were talking about pricing on Wednesday, right?
Yep.
How much you got your Ozzy albums for? $2.50.
Yep.
Don't we miss those days?
Is that a Camelot sticker though? It's not Camelot.
No, this is Edward McKay Used Books and More. So.
Did you get the used bookstore on your way back from Walmart?
You got me.
Inquiring minds want to know.
I had a busy day. But I'm jealous of the version that Craig had with the yellow and the blue.
Yeah, a lot of folks were
UK.
That was fucking cool. That's the European edition?
Yeah.
So yeah,
Dwayne probably has all those, and the Italian version, and the Russian version, and the Turkish version, and
I'm not
Big
here.
Latin version.
The single had a different cover too. It's like he's posed like how many session shots was in that fucking suit, man. It's like Chewbacca thing he's got on. Like so hairy and hot in there. Must be this novel, now that he's gone, it's probably going to be some kind of like picture book put out with all the sessions and everything. We're going to get a glimpse of this.
Killer.
And Logan will be first in line to buy it that day too. Oh, and the over under for how many versions Dwayne owns is I think currently 17. If for folks,
Did you go to Target after Walmart for the Funko Pop?
I'll go there tomorrow, I think, for that.
We went there because Walmart was out of the Osbourne's DVDs.
I'm glad I still have my shovel handy because I'm gonna keep digging the hole. So this is my whole Ozzy collection of CDs that I have, and I basically have everything through osmosis. I'm only missing Ultimate Sin. This is all from Goodwill.
So, Ultimate
Goodwill.
Sin.
This is all from Goodwill. This is all cost me.
That is awesome.
$8.
Do you have,
$8.
Do you have Down to Earth? Do you have Down to Earth in there?
No, I do not. I actually sold that one.
That is his ugliest cover. That's the one I don't own. Just kidding.
I sold that one on eBay. I got that one at Goodwill too. I sold that one on eBay.
Oh my god,
$4.
Just so you know, Ultimate Sin on CD. Okay, the original pressing, the Columbia pressing with the white spine with the red lettering. Those are very rare anymore. Like you just cannot find them. When you find them online or on eBay, they're like $30 plus. You can get the remastered one that came out a few years later. You can find that for about $7. And I don't know why they have not reprinted that freaking CD, but just FYI.
Probably why I haven't found it yet. But I guess let me run through just a ranking of the Ozzy, which I neglected. If you can't tell, I've neglected the Ozzy solo stuff. So this is basically a ranking based on listening to these again for the first time in years and years since the reunion show or the Back to the Beginning show. So I'm impressed. Was missing out. There's a lot of good songs, a lot of good albums on here, and yeah, even Osmosis, which is my least favorite of the first 8. I guess
I haven't heard anything past More Tears.
First 7. It's good. I mean, it's got good songs. I want to revisit it because Craig likes it a lot, but it's inconsistent, right? Like there's a great song and then kind of a song that puts me to sleep a little bit, like Ghost Behind My Eyes, track 3, like a kind of a ballad track, and then kind of a cheesy song like My Little Man or My Jekyll Doesn't Hide, stuff like that. But there's still a lot of great songs on here. Tomorrow and Thunder Underground are good. And then for number 6, No Rest for the Wicked. This one, it's definitely grown on me. I'm not sure if I'm a fan of Zach Wild's guitar work as much as
it gets tiring.
Fire Sky is awesome.
Zach's guitar playing gets tiring with all the pinch harmonic stuff.
It's the same thing with Dimebag. Honestly, I have an issue where the let me be out front, let me be the front and center guy, and he helped Ozzy so much in the 90s. Like I don't think 18. Ozzy would have been who he was if not for.
How old was he when he was? He was like 18 or something, right?
He was really young when he joined.
He was 19, I think, on this album. So. Yeah.
I think Ozzy really wanted Zach to be his Randy replacement. Young, blonde. Just wanted that.
He had a type. Yeah, I mean, this has got great songs, but then also has Crazy Babies, which that is a miss. Yes, babies.
Crazy.
That's one of my favorite beers you're drinking. I love Newcastle's. Oh man, they've changed over the years, but they're still good.
They have. Yeah. Yep. In honor of
honey.
Yep.
Honor of Ozzy. Yeah. Demon Alcohol. Sorry.
Demon Alcohol. I love that album.
Let's party. And then from there, No More Tears. This one, they start to cross the line for album length. It's 55 minutes. That's too long. The No Rest for the Wicked was 38 minutes, and now we're like at 55, so we jumped 20 minutes ahead almost. Still great tracks. Anything that like Lemmy writes, you can tell, and I automatically appreciate it more. I don't know if I get Tinker Train. I was seeing a lot of love in the track.
I love that song. Yeah,
I don't get it. I think it's too over the top. It like I don't even know what the hell he's singing about. I'm like,
he's a child abuser.
Okay.
Like little girl wants some candy. It's that guy. It's Mr. Tinker Trains that dude.
Yeah.
See,
That gives the little girl candy.
that would change the mood
I
of it.
wonder
for
if they
sure.
knew when that dropped that the Black Album was going to drop like a month before that or whatever. That must have been like.
Yeah, I've always said that is Ozzy's Black Album because it has that same feel. It's enough departure from what he did prior, like the Black Album was for Metallica, yet it fanned him to the normal people. I think it's still his best-selling album ever. Ozzy's best-selling
Yes.
album.
It was
Yeah.
all over MTV.
Yeah,
I mean, it's the singles, man. Like, you know, No More Tears and Mama, I'm Coming Home. And
No, you're right, Dwayne. Like my roommate, my freshman year in college, was always like, oh, I'm such an Ozzy fan. I'm like, oh yeah, what's your favorite album? No More Tears. I'm like, what's your second favorite album? He has more albums. I was like, oh god, I got to live with this douche. And I'm not kidding. He was all and it was the Black Album and like No More Tears were like the only two things he played more or less.
I remember
And
the
he was
first time
a huge fan. It's just like,
the first time I heard the bass lick for No More Tears, the track No More Tears, I just thought, wow, this is awesome. Awesome stuff. Love that album. I still do. I don't get tired of it. I'm tired of the Black Album, but
Oh yeah.
well,
Right, Logan.
this one's not fully overplayed in the same way Black Album is.
Exactly.
Really, I mean, it's just the title track, and I love Hellraiser. The song Hellraiser is awesome, and the version of with Lemmy singing is sick too. So, other tracks, Zombie Stomp is absolutely ridiculous, but it works for what it is. Yeah, Road to Nowhere is cool. Alan, you picked that one, right? That was one of your tracks.
Yep.
Yeah. And then Ultimate Sin. That's the one I don't have on CD, but that one.
That's not cheap either. You're not going to find that for cheap either.
So,
especially now, that's going to be the White Whale.
So those CDs that you're showing, those are the remaster ones. That's the one that you can get the Ultimate Sin version of for pretty cheap.
But I don't like the cover. I don't like it.
Sucks. Look
They
at that.
suck. Yeah, I have that CD too, and it's like, oh.
The rest
the
of
original
these
one,
are
the
that.
full cover one, they're hard to find, and when you do, they're like $30 to $50.
It's ridiculous. Yeah.
I mean, as you can tell, I will settle for whatever I can find. So
Well, it's
that's
Goodwill. The
probably what
Goodwill
it'll be.
provided yet another score for the Logan. It's amazing.
I just need one more Goodwill. Come on. But the Ultimate Sin, though, it opens with the title track, which is a cool, longer song. And then for me, the highlights off of that one has to be "Killer of Giants." What a great song. Just kind of a balance between being ballad-esque and pretty triumphant in the chorus. And then I love "Shot in the Dark." That was one of the first Ozzy songs I heard, and it's a very emotive and kind of like a dark 80s pop song. And it works. Ozzy kills it, and great closer for the album.
What the hell is he wearing? That his fashion sense throughout that whole era was really bad. It was like Liberace meets
He's always had an interesting fashion sense.
The Ultimate Sin tour was I'm with Sue. I saw that tour. Metallica opened for Master of Puppets, Cal Palace, San Francisco, 1986. Incredible show. But yeah, that album, that era was like I was saying how Ozzy's like our Elvis in the metal scene. That was like Fat Elvis, right? when that was like Vegas Elvis, right? Where he got kind of chunky.
He was taking like 10 guns on stage with him.
Yeah, he was wearing like sequined muumuus and shit on stage. But it was Ozzy. He's going out there barefoot and shit, with muumuus and But what an album, man! What a concert! It was still awesome.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was Fat Elvis stage.
when was he the bald, crazed looking Ozzy? When the hell? I didn't even know that was an era until actually just this week. People were posting like him behind bushes with.
I think that was after. I think that was
after Randy died, wasn't it?
That was like shit? Was that like Bark at the Moon or past between Bark at the Moon and Ultimate Sin?
I was thinking it was after Ultimate Sin and No Rest for the Wicked, because he had dyed his hair blonde at that point, and I think he cut it all off to grow it back out.
Oh,
there's some.
I could be wrong.
I could be out there.
What year was Trick or Treat the movie?
86.
because that was the year Ultimate Sin came out,
Yeah.
and he had short hair for that. It was just coming back when he filmed that.
You're probably right then. Yeah, because he shaved it. He shaved his head.
Yeah, the pictures of him fully bald and like holding a gun.
Holding a gun, yeah.
I didn't know that was an era of his until, as I said, he passed. And then from there, let's see, Ultimate Sin, third favorite, Blizzard of Oz. This one gets kind of bogged down by no bone movies. It's about porn. It seems like about going to a theater to watch porn. Goodbye to Romance. I don't know if I get that song as much. Rick, I saw you. That's a favorite of yours. I get why some people would like it, but it slows it down, man. It slows down the pacing of the album. I Don't Know is killer. Crazy Train is the one that's a little too overplayed, but I mean that guitar solo is still unbeatable, and that main riff is still unbeatable. So can't beat that. And then really the songs that have grown on me the most outside of Mr. Crawley, which has always been my favorite, but Suicide Solution is a real heavy song, especially when you look at the subject matter, which like the controversy surrounding that song has always been kind of comical to me when you think about the actual point of the track versus what he was sued for.
Yeah,
or
it was the opposite of
what
he was sued for.
It's like, hey, wake up, man. There's more to life than know what you're living and what you're potentially getting rid of. It could be a lot more. You haven't even seen anything, and he's being sued for promoting the opposite. So that's just an interesting tale from the 80s to me, that whole saga. And then Revelations is such an amazing song. Holy shit. I agree with you, Marty. You said it's like a lost Sabbath song.
Yep.
I agree. And then that guitar riff that like kind of comes in the second half of the track is phenomenal. It sounds almost like a Merciful Fate kind of guitar riff, or like a true metal, like not metal of the 70s, but metal of the 80s style guitar riff, and it's phenomenal. Revelations has really grown on me a lot as
great
a track.
Song. Yep.
So number 3, number 2 would be Bark at the Moon. It's just a consistent album all the way through.
Yep.
And it does have some of his best songs with the title track. Now You See It, Now You Don't. Center of Eternity. That song is super fast paced. It's like just a good, like, driving windows down
on your way to Walmart.
On your way to Walmart to buy that poster kind of song.
I'm gonna buy me a poster today.
And then Waiting for Darkness. Man, I mean, Craig mentioned all I need to say. I can't follow up. I'm not going to sing or nothing. So that track, that was one of my all-time favorites from Ozzy, though, Waiting for Darkness, and how it builds and just the tone. It perfectly encapsulates the cover. That's not Ozzy looking like a werewolf, just like the backdrop,
That came out like 2 years before Teen Wolf, too. Just, FYI.
Oh, well, they ripped him off. I hope Ozzy did a suit for that. And then number 1 favorite, Diary of a Madman. This is the most consistent and, to me, the highest quality of tracks. Over the Mountain, Flying High Again. You Can't Kill Rock and Roll was like the first song that came to my mind after he passed. Believer. Little Dolls. Come on. It's a good song. It opens with, what about how it opens with the drums? The drum production is killer. Yeah.
Pins and needles prick the skin of little dolls.
See, that's kind of fucked up right there. That's, and then closing with Diary of a Madman. And Tonight, too. I will hand that one to you as well, Marty. So, yeah. There we go. And I'll stick around for a bit and see what everyone else has to offer. But awesome to be here. Awesome to be a part of this, guys. Cheers.
Well, thanks for coming. Yeah, appreciate it. Absolutely. All of you. Thank you so much.
Indeed. And thanks to everybody in the chat. Everyone's having a good time posting all kinds of cool stuff related to Ozzy's career. Marty, can I share something?
Of course you can.
Okay. I think this is the right time and place for this because, on the one hand, we've just seen Sue's incredible collection, which includes everything up to and including the mummified head of the bat that Ozzy spit out. That
John is still looking for that, by the way.
It's mounted just off the camera, around the corner. On the other end of the spectrum, we have Logan, buying the poster at Walmart the day after he passes away for $4.99.
I'm an Ozzy fan.
Now, I don't really have anything super cool or interesting Sabbath-wise to show, but my son has one piece of Ozzy memorabilia that no one else is going to show tonight, so I might as well. Ozzy did, in recent years, have one voice acting gig for the big screen, where he played a character. You know how all these CGI movies are now. They always try to get these big name people to be voice actors for them. Ozzy got to actually appear and had a role in Trolls World Tour, and my son has the final soundtrack to it.
My son.
It's the only album he owns. Because this was the first movie he kind of latched onto as a little kid. It was one of the first movies that came out during the pandemic where they did the whole, since they couldn't put it in theaters, they kind of rigged a way where you could watch it through like YouTube and stuff for like you paid like $10 and you could watch as many times as you wanted to in 3 days. Do you know how many times a 5-year-old can watch a movie in 3 days?
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
This was that. But right here in the soundtrack, you've got Crazy Train. It's just a couple of songs down from, what have we got here? Rainbows, Unicorns, and Everything Nice. And their take on Rock You Like a Hurricane also. So it wasn't just that. But he's not pictured here. But Ozzy played himself. This is Ozzy Osbourne as the patriarch of the hard rock trolls. Because the whole concept of the movie is the trolls, and they have different tribes, and each tribe likes a different style of music. And Ozzy's daughter is kind of going nuts, trying to take over and force all the other trolls to listen to nothing but hard rock. And of course, I love the fact too, his wheelchair has spiked wheels. If you check it out there,
I can just see that little dude going, Sharon, shaking.
And he literally plays himself. I mean, he's, very slow placed. He's still there, but he's, he's a little hard of hearing, a bit forgettable, speaks very slowly, but every single one of the hard rock trolls hangs on his every word when he does show up to say something. And of course, at the end of the movie, he kind of teaches the hard rock trolls, some important lessons about being a good friend. So, yes, that is the one and only piece of memorabilia I will show this evening. The soundtrack, Trolls World Tour. And before you laugh at it, do you have it? Didn't think so.
I didn't even know Trolls was still relevant. Like, it's still a thing. Like, damn.
It was a thing. Yes, it was. The movie did quite well when they put it out through that kind of modified online platform. It was kind of the moment when a lot of movie theater chains realized they were going to be in a lot of trouble, because it's like, oh, movies are finding ways to still get out there and make a lot of money, and they don't need us. This isn't good. Trolls 2 was the first movie that really punched through during the pandemic and still did huge numbers, because they found this weird way to wire it through YouTube and maybe some other platforms too, and sold a ridiculous amount of those kind of like online sort of a modified pay-per-view ticket. But yeah, I wanted to share that just because it was something fun that from my little boy.
Part of me wants to be that age again where like I can listen to Crazy Train and know it's not overplayed. It's like it's
yeah.
To go back to that time again.
Yeah, well, Rick, if you need a deep cut, I'm telling you, man, rainbows, unicorns, everything nice.
That's on the European single of that vinyl, right?
Japanese only bonus track.
Right.
It's in my cart. There we go. Am I up next?
Oh, yeah. Whatever you got.
What's funny, before we started this stream, like I know I got an Ozzy Funko Pop, right? And I can't find it. It's because I have it in a box somewhere. And part of me is thinking, I might need therapy. Like maybe it's a good thing I can't find it, because it's one of those things where like you see something at the store and you're like, am I getting this because I like Ozzy? And I have a few. I have quite a few of these, right? And I'm like, am I a collector, or I just like the particular personality? I don't want to label myself as a Funko Pop collector. But at some point, when you got 10, 20, you start to skirt the line. Am I in denial?
But do you have the Heavy Metallurgy Funko Pops?
So,
Show them, Alan.
Oh,
I've seen them and I want them.
Like Tom P there. While Logan's here. So, we all know about the bat, and I think 99% of us can claim we've never bitten the head off a bat. But what about a wombat? So just because Logan's here, trial by wombat. It's like the ugliest beer.
Oh my God! Like what?
Look
the hell
at
is
that! Look at that smile.
But don't let the label fool you. And it's just actually pretty tasty. Might have to go back for more tomorrow. I got another stream going on tomorrow. So
Is that a wombat brown ale?
It is Indian Bale Hopper Galaxy. I don't know. Hidden Man Brewery. It's a 7%er. I'm feeling really good. It's like 7's a nice round number. Like it's not too little, not too much. I'm feeling pretty good right now. No, but as far as like stories and stuff, I don't have anything cool and impressive. I love that Sue has some New Jersey stories because I'm a Jersey guy myself. I grew up in Toms River. My only claim to fame there is it's Springsteen territory. He went to Asbury, Ocean City College, or what is it? Ocean County Community College. He went there for a brief stint. Skid Row's from there for a period, but as far as Ozzy stories, not so much, which kind of sucks. And another thing that I kind of regret too is and just the man Ozzy has done a lot for giving musicians a chance, even up to like his last days. And I'm seeing like Travis Scott, like Post Malone. He's really got a latching to Post Malone. With his stuff. Like it's just like
supposedly Post Malone's kind of a metalhead. Actually, I see him talking how much he loves metal.
He really turned me off in Nirvana. That's where I was like, it's like, it's like, it's already a stretch,
right?
But I do have this. So way back in high school, when the Oddfest thing first started, I guess Sharon was the big brains behind that. Not so much. I don't know how this usually works, but yeah. So they put out a tape. This is one of those lenticulars. I don't know if anybody's got the
lenticular cassette. Wow,
lenticular freaking cassette. Like, he does this like his frog thing. He does. But do you really want him jumping around like peak era David Lee Roth? And doing somersaults and
it's weird.
Wheels. Yeah. It would not work, right? Like, it's like he's got a different kind of energy going on. But it's kind of cool, it's so freaking 90s. Like, yeah, Jarvis got there at one point. It's kind of like, let me see, because it's kind of my old eyes, maybe the glasses. I will have a hard time reading this, this 4-point type that's on there, but it's like, I think Ozfest ended in the mid 2000s, but I think it started in 96. And you look at the roster of what was there on the original lineup. Like he had like Fear Factory did Replica. It's on this thing, and you start to question like he was really latching on these bands because at the time you didn't know where direction these bands were gonna go. And I guess at the time, nu metal didn't have that stink yet. So the opening track is Loco. So you got Cold Chamber on this thing, Power Man 5000. You got and I know Alan's here. But I have to bring up that Biohazard is on this, so just in case you put it in your cart, Alan.
Thanks for the warning. Appreciate it, Rick.
Sepultura, it's on this thing. Max was still in the band. Some band called Cellophane. I don't know. It's Slayer. So the last song, Slayer, Angel of Death. So you got the big ones, and Ozzy ends with Perry Mason. This is a really good version of Perry Mason. If you're going to get this tape, and if you do like Perry Mason. And I'm thinking at the time, okay, you got these new metal bands and whatever was relevant at the time and whatever. You end this on with Perry Mason. What demographic at this time, including myself, knew what Perry Mason was? Wasn't that a show based off the 60s? It's just like what is this? Like what is Perry Mason? You didn't have the internet like you do now to just go in there just look this stuff up. Which is really interesting. So I'm like, okay, Perry Mason, what's that like a, you know,
He was a lawyer that always solved the case while the witness was on the stand.
Yeah, it made a whole song on it, and it's cool. You know, Zach doing his thing, you know, and I don't know if Zach was actually on here at the time. I don't think he was. I actually never looked that up. But I know he was on a recording. But yeah, it's just a cool little relic from my high school days, you know, at the time. And the fact it was lenticular, you know, so I thought that was a cool little gimmick. At the time, I was collecting comic books, chromium covers, you know, foil and all that crap and lenticular. And they got me with this one too. And the fact that it was Ozzy and Ozfest, and I didn't know if I was ever going to get to go to an Ozfest and a lot of stuff, which I never did.
So do you play the tape and move it so like you're actually watching them?
That is my 3D experience. You know, that's how I was able to, you know,
with those glasses on. Yeah,
pretty much. You know, but you know, as far as like a bunch of anything, I don't have anything that's like impressive, anything to show that's, you know, or whatever, you know. But you know, I got all the albums. I even pulled all the vinyl, you know, just in case. But I'm like, I don't know where we're gonna go with this conversation, you know, as far as all this stuff was gonna go. But I remember talking about some of the other stuff that people are still paying tribute to. I did one of the 420 streams. I talk about Zach Sabbath, you know. So Zach Wilde, when he's not doing his Pantera stuff, he's got the Zach Sabbath stuff, you know, at the same time. So he's, you know, he's touring. So I got like 2 7-inches of his where he's like, you know, doing his Sabbath covers. I'm thinking, who's picking that up, right? Like, and I picked it up out of curiosity. The price was right, and but it's not something that I would say you need to go out and get some Zach Sabbath.
it'd probably be fun to go watch it live, though.
It would, you know, he has his flavor to it. I wouldn't say
He sounds a lot like Ozzy in kind of a monotone way, you know.
he does. Considering how long he's been around, that guy, he definitely has picked up quite a lot. Is able to, you know, you hang around with somebody long enough, you could quite do an impersonation, you know.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I hear kind of a big divide between that guy. You know, it's like it's kind of unfair to compare the Rose and those guys. Is a very different kind of guitarist. You know, came in at a very different kind of time, and he came in when he was very young. I think he's done really well for himself. You know, and could he cut down on the alcohol and all that? Sure, there's a lot of things he could have done. But I think in his own way, I like watching some of the videos that he's done. You know, with hanging around the kids and just introducing them to metal and stuff, which is, I think, it's pretty cool. I think he's going to continue doing that and bring a lot of more people, introducing them to metal. Even those who go to those Pantera shows, like I think that he's doing a lot for getting this generation into metal, even if it happens that way. You know, I mean, eventually, you know, he'll be playing all the other stuff from his career, which I thought was pretty cool. I don't know.
Yeah. Right on.
I also had one more thing. You know,
Yeah.
We talked a lot about Ozzy, and I think this is happening now. The social media thing is where it is now, and the way the news spreads is like wildfire. Dio never got that opportunity. YouTube existed at the time, but it was not what it is now. You know what I mean? We're talking about the founders of heavy metal and stuff. You know, Dio started his singing career even earlier. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And Sabbath was a band that had them both. You know, we talk about, you know, a guy who was on this album here, you know, which a lot of us point to where the origins of heavy metal are. It also had a singer and, you know, introduced the world to this, you know.
And I'm sorry, I love the Dio Sabbath. Oh my God, I cried listening to Heaven and Hell the other night. I just, as many times as I've heard it, it's still amazing how beautiful Dio
is. My favorite Black Sabbath album, period.
That I think Mob Rules is mine. Heaven and Hell is a close second, and yeah, but I love all the Ozzy stuff too. But man, the Dio is what a absolutely phenomenal talent.
That's why the Sabbath list, like Zoller was going through it, and I'm like, man, put together a Sabbath list of top songs, but to exclude all the Dio stuff, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Even some of the Tony Martin stuff, it's just to the Ozzy on just on the drop of a hat was pretty hard. Just, you know, but if I had to do it, and like I did, you know, I point to like that first half of the 70s, you know what I mean? It's where, you know, I kind of stick around the most. But as you guys were talking about Ecstasy, I found myself reading a little more and more towards that direction, but it's still
Me
not
too.
my favorite era. But
Yeah.
I'm warming up to it.
Good deal.
Right on. Dwayne, did you have any other stuff you wanted to add?
Or some
I got a
cool stuff
couple
you got to
things.
show from the racks.
Yeah, I got a couple things. I mean, I didn't pull like all the vinyl collection and all that stuff, and VHS.
I'm waiting for the Ozzy Sabbath curio cabinet. You've got the priest one, you've got the Halloween stand, you got the
I should build a Sabbath Ozzy one. Yeah, that's not a bad idea. I
There
don't
you
know
go.
where I fit it now, but no, and the posters. I got all kinds of promotional material, all that crap. But I have three things. I'm just going to show these three things. The first thing is, I talked about the book signing that I met him at, and that's important because that was one-on-one. I got to actually speak words with Ozzy, and that was really, really cool. This was the book. It's called "Trust Me, I'm Dr. Ozzy," and so it's of course signed, and I even kept the receipt in there with the date and whatnot, so I'd never forget. And it was October 22nd, 2011 in San Francisco. So interesting. There's a funny blurb on the back about how it's certified that Ozzy did not gain any or did not pass any medical classes in order to give such advice. So it's funny. But anyway, so
Even the Dr. Dre,
and then when I had him sign beside the book, I tore this off the wall. So this is my signed Blizzard of Oz LP and CD and Diary of a Madman CD, and then that's a pic that my wife took of me with Ozzy. I'm in my Testament shirt while he's signing my stuff.
Awesome.
So I just have that in a shadow box
Very
on the
cool.
wall there.
Very cool.
And then the last thing just sits over here. I just ripped it down. My big Blizzard of Oz
Oh, neat.
doll, still in the box, never opened.
That's a big doll, not a little doll.
Funko Pop version I have.
Big, yeah.
It's the white costume. That's the Funko Pop I got.
Yeah, so
That's
from the
awesome.
Blizzard of Oz cover with the big cross and whatnot.
Nice.
He looks weird in white though. Like I feel black really works for him, but like it's kind of
Mhm.
he went through that white costume, kind of like Elvis.
Yeah. But cool piece. One of those things that, you'd get at Spencer's Gifts or something, but if you miss them, then they're gone,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, but yeah, so those are a few things that I grabbed.
Very cool
Do
stuff.
any of you guys have the Todd McFarlane Bark at the Moon action figure? It's Todd McFarlane, the guy who did Spawn and
Yeah.
Spider-Man. He did this really gnarly version of Bark at the Moon, which is pretty cool. So I definitely remember seeing that growing up, like shopping action figures, looking for Marvel action figures, and being kind of scared of whatever this Wolfman guy was, and not realizing it was Ozzy. So another avenue, Ozzy invades action figures. Who knew?
Yep. Well, hell, we did it about 33 hours. Anybody have anything else they want to say before Sue, you got something?
Yeah, I have a couple more things.
Right on. We have all the time
okay.
in the world, so take your time.
Okay. Well, this will be it. But so here's one more piece of memorabilia we have. It's a big poster in a heavy frame, so I wasn't able to bring it. But this is what it looks like. This was an original poster from when Master of Reality came out. It was issued by Warner Brothers, like
neat.
promotional for record stores or whatever. And this is actually like a lithograph that they print the posters from.
Wow.
So it's a very, very cool piece. And we have it in this real heavy glass frame to preserve it. So that's a nice thing to wake up to in the morning.
Right on, yeah.
That's a cool design, yeah.
And then I also wanted to talk about the times I've seen Black Sabbath play. So the first time it was with Tony Martin singing on the Cross Purposes tour, and it was in a fairly small venue in New York City, and that was with Tiamat and Motorhead. And I just feel that Tony Iommi exudes like this aura. he's like, he seems like this mild-mannered British gentleman, but he's got an aura, and I can't describe it, but you always feel like a little bit spooky around him. And no matter where you're sitting when you're watching him live, you can feel it. So this was especially apparent when we saw the Sabbath The End tour. It was an outdoor show, but there was like a rain cloud, and it was the only rain cloud in the entire air. Like if you looked at the radar, it was just right over our heads. So it was this kind of misty rain and cloudy night. So they are playing up on stage, and Tony's there exuding his aura, and Ozzy was doing a really good job. And at one point they were going to play Hand of Doom, and if you looked up at the moon, there was a cloud like in front of the moon that made it look like there was a hand like this. I'm not kidding.
Oh, wow.
It was just unbelievable. So it just added to the creepiness of the vibe. And
Wow.
yeah, that was amazing.
Perfect atmosphere.
Yeah, totally.
Mm-hmm. Bet you wish you had a camera right then. That would have been rad.
Yes.
No.
We also saw the version of Sabbath that was called Heaven and Hell at the time with Dio.
Yes.
So
that was a great album too. I enjoyed the hell out of
Yes.
that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was really good stuff. And it's something that we should revisit again.
Yeah.
So, for sure. And a show that a lot of people may not realize that Sabbath played at was Live Aid in Philadelphia.
Mm-hmm.
And my husband, John, was there. He saw the whole Live Aid concert. And that was like a reunion with Ozzy and the Sabbath guys again.
Wow.
So another historic performance. And I don't know, Alan, I'm not sure if your son caught when Ozzy was on the Muppet Show.
Oh, we missed that one, I think.
So, yeah, Ozzy, he was a legend, and he will be missed. And
does anybody here think, I used to think, now that I'm thinking about it, I used to think that Bill Ward would always end up going before Ozzy.
Oh, he tried. I mean,
if
he's
you'd
had heart
asked,
attack.
I would have assumed he would probably have been the first one to pass away. Yeah,
So
just with his health problems going back so far.
And considering the other guys were always like spray painting him and setting him on fire,
that didn't help.
It's a wonder.
You had like a toxic reaction to the paint. Yeah, it was funny. Logan, you're jumping. You're muted.
Yep, sorry, I'm trying to type goodbyes in the chat, but I'll just say it real quick. Guys, it's been great. Very fitting tribute. Well done, Marty Allen, Sue, Dwayne, Rick, always awesome.
Cheers.
Craig, wherever you're at, cheers. Cheers to all you guys.
Cheers, Logan. Thanks for
Ozzy.
coming, buddy.
Cheers
Good
to
to see you, man.
Thanks for hanging
See
out,
y'all.
Logan.
See you Wednesday.
Absolutely.
Take care.
Have a great weekend, man.
All right. Well, before we jump, I'm going to do my 5 Sabbath songs real quick.
Sure. I've got a couple of final little things I want to wrap up too, but go ahead.
And this is, again, applies to, I tried to avoid the obvious hits because I've just been gravitating towards the non-obvious hits lately. Honorable mentions, The Writ. I love that song. That's a song that actually Ozzy wrote the lyrics for, and it was pertaining to their ex-manager that ripped them off. I love how plotting it is. It's got a menace to it. But it ends on a hopeful vibe. So it's kind of cool how they switch it around like that. But other honorable mentions, Tomorrow's Dream. I do love that song. Looking for Today off of Sabbath, Bloody Sabbath, which for the longest time was my favorite. I think it's kind of switched to Sabotage is my favorite. Thrill of It All from Sabotage as well. Junior's Eyes. I love the emotion on that song, especially in the chorus. That's on Never Say Die. But my top 5 for now, it changes weekly. Never Say Die. I love how upbeat that song is, full of positivity and punch. Always love that song. Supernaut off of Volume 4 is number 4. A lot of bounce and groove on that one. It always felt like a standout track to me. And the main riff is just absolutely amazing. Great, catchy, fun riff. Hole in the Sky on Sabotage, number 3. Menacing leadoff track. It's just a very dense with an oppressive feeling to it. There's like those sliding lead lines on there, just gives you a bit of light in the darkness.
I like
It's
how
very cool.
psychedelic that chorus is too.
What's that?
I like how psychedelic he sings that chorus.
Absolutely.
To Pluto.
Number 2 for me, Hard Road off of Never Say Die. I love the groove of this song and the mechanical way Ozzy's singing on it. I've always loved it. There's a darkness to that song. I've always loved the song. It really is a standout for me on Never Say Die. For now, my favorite Sabbath track is Spiral Architect. It's the last track on Sabbath Bloody Sabbath. A lot of orchestration and strings in here. But to me, it's one of Ozzy's most beautiful vocal performances. He's really singing up in his higher range, really smooth, really beautiful, highlighting the verses and the choruses perfectly. There's just a lot of emotion on that track, and I've always go back to that one for sure. So yeah, that was my quick top 5 as of this week. Favorites. Thanks for humoring me there. Alan, you had something?
Oh, just a few kind of quick, short stories. I never got to see Ozzy live, so I don't have any concert reports or anything
Me either.
like that.
Yeah.
My first exposures to Ozzy were kind of weird ones because, it was late 80s and, especially, small rural Southern town. Ozzy was this kind of, scary figure. People were all freaked out about, you had the trials going on with, Judas Priest and stuff. And so, parents and kids and everyone were all freaked out about all this kind of stuff. I had a friend, I can't remember exactly when it was, maybe like around the time we were in 8th or 9th grade, he had a, Ozzy tape, or he said someone had given him like an Ozzy tape for a birthday present. He played it and thought he heard like voices in the background of it or something. He literally like took it out in the yard and burned it. It just set the cassette on fire. It was, legitimately afraid, like, something was like going to possess him or something. We talk about the satanic panic, in very, kind of, funny, goofy adults overreacting ways. It had an effect on kids, and some kids believed all that shit, hook, line, and sinker back then. My other early encounter with Ozzy was before I was listening to any real hard rock or heavy metal stuff at the time. And it was this very weird situation where a friend of my parents, was a real sweet lady. She was like a second mother to me and my sister. She worked with special ed kids. And I guess she had one kid in class. He was a couple of years older than me. And I guess he had issues. I guess by today's standards, you would probably say he was like, highly functioning autistic. Back then, there was no phrase for that. But she found out he liked collecting baseball cards. And I was into baseball cards. And so somehow she got it in her head to try to like help him socialize by picking me up after school one day. She's like, "Hey, come with me." I'm like, "Where are we going?" She's like, and she didn't really explain it. So I'm just like,
that always sounds like a good situation.
Exactly. Just like, and again, you're like, I'm like, 13 or something.
Was there free candy on the side of the van?
Oh, no, again, no, this lady, no, this lady, we don't even joke about that kind of thing with her. No.
Right on.
No, she could have said getting an airplane, we're going to Alaska, and I would have done it without question, and my parents would have been absolutely fine with it.
Oh,
but
right
she drives way out in the country to where this kid's living like in a trailer with his mom. I've never met this kid before. He's a couple of years older than me. And she's like, "Hey, this is Tim. He likes baseball cards too. You guys be friends," kind of thing. I'm just like, what? Who?
Oh boy, that's a situation. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a real awkward situation, and you're putting, a 13-year-old boy, which there's nothing more awkward than that, into it. And so, yeah, he's like, pulling out all these baseball cards, there's like huge boxes of them and showing them to me. But at some point he got sidetracked and started showing me like all these Ozzy Osbourne tapes. He's like, "Oh, do you listen to this? This is like the greatest guy ever. He's like the most evil fucking guy ever." And he like, bites the heads off bats, and he's just like all this stuff. And I'm just like, who is this? What the huh? I don't know which albums it was. It was either Bark or Diary, because they had the big orange, and the only thing I remember is they had the big like, yellow and red logos.
Yep.
And this guy on the cover, obviously looking, all fucked up. And so, like, those kind of things were my first exposures to Ozzy Osbourne, the guy, this, very socially awkward kid in a trailer in the middle of nowhere showing me like his, all his stuff. And I'm just like, why am I here?
Did he play them for you?
No. We did not break out any songs, which is probably a good thing at the time. But then, and then my other friends, like, getting a cassette, one of the cassettes for his birthday, and like basically playing it once, taking it in his backyard and burning it to make sure, his soul was safe. Those were early Ozzy encounters. A better one, a quick anecdote from a friend that I used to tape trade with a lot. I was talking to her sometime, and a subject came up like, favorite album covers or something. And one of her favorite album covers from the 80s was The Ultimate Sin. And so I was like, oh, that's a cool choice. Why is that? She's like, I really don't like the album that much, to be honest. But she's like, but I always liked that cover because I felt like it was one of the few metal covers at the time that displayed a woman like in a position of power, not looking slutty, not looking like, boobs hanging out, clinging to a guy's arm, leg or something. Not the
proud and strong
kind of pose. But yeah, very much. She's like, all the other girls in school and they wanted to be, the bimbo on the cover of like, some, White Snake or Rat album. She's like, I wanted to be the woman on the Ultimate Sin cover because that woman just looked like, so, in charge of herself. And I always thought that was really neat, and I would never have thought of that myself. But yeah, that's
killer artwork.
Yeah, that's that portrayal there, meant a lot to her because again, the 80s heavy metal, yes, women not always, shown in really favorable lights on the cover, but that one does, and it really connected with Natalie, and so she always latched onto that piece of artwork. Last quick tidbit for me is the picture on the thumbnail for tonight's stream. It's not a random choice. It's not a better known picture of Ozzy, I don't think. It's one from the Volume 4 sessions. And I remember seeing that for the first time much later, as very early 2000s. I bought just a really cheap used vinyl copy of Volume 4 at a record store. They had literally had a dollar bin box I was flipping through. And they had a copy of Volume 4 in the dollar bin. It was very rough, lots of cover wear and stuff like that. I went ahead and bought it anyway. And it still had like, when it was a gatefold, and it has these, really nice big pictures, one for each of the guys. And I always remember seeing that picture of Ozzy because, by that time, Ozzy again, was a reality star and, the Ozfest and all this, up there in years. And I just remember flipping through that and seeing that picture and just pausing on it for a long time and just being like, holy crap, look at him there. Just kind of, there he is in the prime. And it had been so long since I'd really even thought of him, in that particular light. Because he was just, face everywhere, but with all these other, the Osbourne shows and stuff, all this kind of goofy stuff going on. And just, seeing that picture of him just there where he looks, smiling, young, obviously, kind of at the peak of his, powers with Black Sabbath. That picture's always stuck with me, and it is my favorite image of Ozzy, and that's why I put it on the thumbnail tonight.
Cool.
So yeah, just a few quick tidbits that I wanted to share about
right on
things about Ozzy.
I got something I would like to share real quick.
Please do.
So first Ozzy album I ever bought was this, thanks to a friend. And so to me, I had heard Black Sabbath, Paranoid, things like that, but a lot of the tracks that are on here, I had yet to hear. So I thought these were Ozzy songs for a whole summer. And I think this happened to a lot of kids because I've heard other people tell that same story, but I just wanted to say that this, when it comes to metal, this logo right there, in this color specifically, and Alan, you brought that up, the red and yellow, and on the black, to me, will always remain one of the greatest heavy metal logos of all time, without a doubt. Right there with Iron Maiden's logo, the Judas Priest logo, but this Ozzy logo specifically, in those colors specifically, are definitely my favorite Ozzy logo, and so important. Yes, it was used again on Bark at the Moon, and There's just a black T-shirt with that logo on it is all you need. It really is all you need.
Yep.
But the other thing I wanted to talk about this record is something that Marty always makes me think of, because I know, Marty, you're kind of obsessed or OCD with the back of King Diamond when he's sitting there in the throne and he's got his
that big old
like
the hand looks like too large for the body.
Yeah, you always talk about that. You're obsessed with that photo and the way it's shaped.
It's evil. He looks evil as fuck on that picture.
Yeah. So at the time that I bought this album, I was a kid and I was into wrestling. The picture on the back of this, okay, let me get it into the camera better. Okay, so you got Tommy Aldridge there, Ozzy, Rudy Sarzo, and Brad Gillis. And if you look at Tommy Aldridge, his neck looks broke. Okay, and you've got Ozzy going like this, right? And so to me, I don't know why, but as a kid, I'm like, Ozzy broke his neck. That's what I always pictured. He broke his neck, So to me, that made this album heavy. Like, I mean, I'm like, Jesus, he broke that dude's neck, when I was a kid. That's what I thought. So I just wanted to talk about that, because that back photo, every time you talk about that King Diamond back photo, that's a little story I've got with that one. I've always thought that.
Hell yeah. That's a great live set too. It's a cool record.
Those live versions of those songs are might be my favorite way to listen to those songs, just because I have so much time with that record.
Yeah. It was an early acquisition, so you're always the nostalgia. That's where it sticks.
Exactly.
It's funny how that works. Yeah. All right, everybody, we good? Did we do it?
Can I add just quick?
Of course you can.
Logan was showing these earlier, these editions. Mm-hmm. Man, these sound great. These are like the remasters, but I hate the look of these covers.
I hate them so much.
I got some Priest ones too. They do this whole miniature thumbnail shit with the whole like cut it out, guys. Just do the remaster and just label it on the side or whatever to let us know. But keep the thing intact.
Yeah.
You got to squint, because some of us are over 40.
Yep. Yeah. And in case anybody missed it, I think Ronald in the chat mentioned that on those remasters they replaced some bass parts and other things. So it's really it's not the original recording.
No. Let me correct. Not on those.
Not on that side. Okay, sorry.
It was the next set of remasters.
The next set of remasters. Okay.
Yes.
It's extra infuriating. You guys don't know, like for those who don't know, like I'm a graphic designer, right? And this is extra infuriating to me, because the horse is down. Now, if you want to kick that horse, let's go ahead and make the back not readable too. What the hell is this? You know what I mean? Like, I get the whole trending and creative or whatever, but this shit got to be functional. Like, who's going to read that? It's too much work, with this. So, trying to get my nephew into, a lot of metal and stuff. He's not quite ready for Morbid Angel yet. But Ozzy's a good introduction. And I remember one of the first CDs I got him was like, "We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll." That is a great entry point, He's a little past that age.
Fair.
Like 10 years. 20 years. Still like Crazy Train though.
You're never too old for the magic of friendship, Rick.
But man, like, I think that, for people tuning in or just finding out about Ozzy, or kind of knew him in the whole, psyche of music, but are just curious, We Sold Our Soul for Rock and Roll, great Black Sabbath intro. Like, does it have all the best Black Sabbath? No. You know what I mean? Like, but it's got the stuff that will get you in if you're trying to get into this. But there's also this, right? I don't know if Logan showed this. If you're looking for like the Ozzy stuff, this is the what is it? The Ozman Cometh, and he's got a nice shot of him in the back over here. And it's got some stuff that I think it begins with, because it's like a mix of his solo stuff and the Sabbath stuff. So you kind of get a nice mix of Ozzy, because we were all talking about our lists, and some of us was mixing all time, just Sabbath, just solo, career kind of material, and even some stuff here that's a little unique. I think it was what was it? It was the one with Randy Rhoads. It's got some of the ballads. It's got Mama, I'm Coming Home. It's got Paranoid with Randy Rhoads. War Pigs. It's one of those songs that it's truly timeless. You could put that on, and the way those lyrics were written back then still applies very much today.
Yeah,
nothing has changed.
Nothing has changed. No, 100%. Yeah,
and you could put this on, and it's just as relevant. And one of the last things that I'm curious about is, and I know Lazarus was talking about patient number 9, which I do need to pick that up. The last one I just picked up after he passed. I did the Logan thing. He passed. He went and got his poster. I ordered Ordinary Man. So what?
Hence the look.
So I'm actually very, very curious. Patient number 9 was one that I did neglect. But now when you call yourself a collector, I'm not a Funko Pop collector, so I'm gonna just draw the line. Albums, I am.
But you collect everything else. Let's be honest.
But this right here, where he left, I think it's great.
I think it's good. They played it really safe, though.
They did, for what it was. I think for what it was at the time in the production, it has captured some of the spirit of what Black Sabbath really is. With that,
it takes a couple minutes for the songs to get there, but they eventually, some of them do get there. But yeah,
they do. It's not a bad album at all.
It isn't.
None of those songs are top 10 for me, of course. But I could put this on, and I don't mind it at all. I think it's a great listen. And for what it is, I feel fine playing it in the car for people who are not normally metalheads. As a matter of fact, I don't know if that's, a good or a bad thing. I just think that, like you said, they played it safe, but it's just good music, for what it is. So
and Ozzy sounds good on it.
He sounds really good considering his age. At the same time, for what it is, I think there's a lot of energy there. I think Bill Ward got a little screwed out of that deal, but
yeah, that was shitty. It sucks.
But
I think they would have had him if he could do it, though. I keep telling myself he might not have been up to the task, physically.
Yeah.
I don't know. Who knows? Maybe it was business. I have no idea. No, we don't. We can't say.
Those guys are all up in age. I mean, we all felt it this week with Ozzy. I think when it comes to the heavy metal guys, and when it's Iommi's time, and those guys, that's where it's really gonna feel really, really, really heavy.
It's all over again because Iommi is the guy, the riff lord. I mean, his sawed off fingers and the way he played the guitar and the sounds between him and Geezer and Bill, they are our Beatles. They are our Beatles. It's funny because they're inspired by the Beatles, but they're the heavy metal Beatles. And it's going to be tough when they go.
The last thing I wanted to add too is it's just for you guys, so you don't get any angry PETA comments. In this video is those animals are already dead. Before he bit off those heads. Just wanted to clarify. Those dogs were dead, and that bat was dead. Just wanted to clarify that.
There you go.
So real quick, if I can, since I brought it up earlier, I just wanted to show this if anyone's interested. This is the original Ultimate Sin Columbia package with the red and white, spine. For whatever reason, this thing was short print run or something, and it's now sought out by collectors. And I don't know why, because the one you showed sounds just as good. But I don't know. And I don't know why that is. I've never found out. So it's just the full cover, very plain. But it commands money, and I don't know why. And then I thought I'd show this real quick because this is an excellent set. And the one you showed, Rick, kind of reminded me of it. So I grabbed it. If you ever see it, and you can get it cheap, it is a great set. It's Ozzy Osbourne, Prince of Darkness. It's just a four CD, with the book.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Set. And there's a few Geez, disc one alone is worth this set. You want to talk about the perfect. You want a quick dose of Ozzy? Just put on disc one of this. There's a few Sabbathy things on here, but it's got all kinds of really cool photos in here and whatnot. So if you just want, something, without having to pull a bunch of things at one time to go through, this is a good little set right here to just get you, a little dose of all the eras. So just wanted to share those with you guys.
Cool. I haven't seen that before.
Right on. Well, we did it. If anybody has anything to...
Oh, just thanks to all of you for, taking time tonight. It's it can be a little weird having so many people on, but no, it was great giving everybody a chance to share stories and thoughts on all of it. Thanks to everybody who's been in the chat. There's been tons of cool information and memories posted in the chat as well. Big thanks to Craig and Logan, who had to bail a little bit earlier. They had busy evenings and mornings coming up, and they still took the time to come hang too. Very appreciative of everyone's input on this one.
Yep, we appreciate you all. Go check out Lazarus's YouTube channel. Go check out the Dreadful Minutes. Go check out Metal and Beer Snob. Sue, what have you got? Anything to plug?
The eBay store.
Oh, yeah. Can you throw the name of it? I don't know if it's in the description.
Yeah, it's easiest to look it up by our username, which is, it's a stupid name. I'm sorry. It's a Bubster, BUBSTER -half HALF.
There you go.
What do you sell on there, Sue?
What'd you say?
I said, what do you sell on there, Sue?
Oh, all music, records, tapes, CDs, all of that. And of course, we have sold a few Ozzy and Sabbath things this week, but there's some more that we have. So
they tend to have a lot of really cool, not easy to find type of memorabilia on Sue's store. So if you're looking for definitely unusual, hard to find things, it's a really cool store to check out.
Walmart poster.
Logan is not shopping at Sue's store. Let's just put it that way.
And also, for folks that may not know who S. Craig Zoller is, go watch the movies Bone Tomahawk, Dragged Across Concrete, and Brawl in Cell Block 99. Was it 88, 99?
Bone Tomahawk freaked me out. That was a weird flick, man.
And search his name on Amazon. He's a novelist as well. And a whole bunch of
graphic
stuff.
novel.
I also own one of the Puppet Master movies.
Yep. Very busy man. So
indeed.
Thanks everyone. Rest in peace, Ozzy.
I feel like he could write a book on how to handle procrastination from metalheads like myself. I'll get a lot of value. Like that guy, he's all over the place.
I've gone and hung out with him at his place for a weekend, and every day he was writing a novel at the time, and every day he would stay in his room. He's like, well, I need to work for this many hours, so New York's that way. Go out, and thankfully Wagner was with me. We went around and did the spots, and
I'll go to Michigan, Marty. If he's down there, I'll go to Michigan.
Yeah, right on. Hey, Eric, thank you so much for that. Appreciate you. But yep, rest
Thanks
in peace,
everybody
Ozzy.
for coming. It means a lot. We lost a great one, man. Ozzy is my Elvis.
Thank you, Ozzy, for everything.
Thank you, Ozzy.
Thanks, everybody. And we'll see you all next week. I'm sure we'll have another busy schedule coming up. So, hey, let's hang. Thanks for watching. Go check out the Discord server. Awesome community. We just hit 200 members, and they're busy chatting all day long about metal and sharing ideas and what they're spinning and information. It's great. Check it out. Thanks. Cheers. Ozzy.
Night.